We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Well-Hatted Cinema Pod. Gentlemen, we're back. It's been too long. 2 weeks here. It's my fault. I went to the beach, got a little tan. You wouldn't know anything about that, Brian. You're pale as a ghost. But,
it's the lighting, man. It's the lighting. I am tan. I was just telling Micah, I am tan.
Yeah. But we're back. As always, my name is Eric. I'm joined by my incredibly handsome co-hosts. We got Mike and Brian. Give it up for these guys. Wow, man.
What's up, man?
Wow.
How we doing?
I'm happy to be back, guys. I mean, a week away. It was nice, kind of settling back in, though. We got 2 weeks of movie news to get into. 2 movies of the week this go around. And then after all that, we're going to have a game. But as always, we're going to go around the horn and talk about what we've been watching these last 2 weeks. So, Brian, I'll kick it over to you, buddy.
Yeah.
What have you been watching?
First up, Eric, I literally said to Micah before you joined, I'm like, I feel like this light is washing me out. I am tan. And then you come out right off the rip and go, wouldn't you know anything about that? I'm like, dude, I need to get something that actually like accentuates my tan. Anyway, I digress. I've watched a lot of good stuff this because we now have 2 weeks. I'll just kind of breeze through some highlights because I feel like I don't need to dwell too much on other things. Finally got around to seeing Final Destination's Bloodlines,
Wow.
which I found just a whimsical good time. Is it silly? Oh, it's so whimsical. Death is a dickhead. Why he has comedic timing now. He's killing people at breakneck speed that we've never seen in the other movies.
Oh,
and then decides to wait at the end, and just goes like, I think psych. That's funny. Rewatch Jaws.
Ooh,
That's
a good summer movie.
Predators. 20 whatever year that was 2010.
Is that the Adrian Brody
okay.
one?
Yeah, that one was okay. I saw Life of Chuck, which as much as I liked it, glad we didn't do that as movie of the week. A real divisive one. Carly hated it.
Divisive.
It's just
Carly.
it's just a little bit you either like it or you don't. It's a very like heavy, like kind of interesting way of looking at life. I don't know. It's let's see what else I got here. I think the one I will want to bring up the most is I watch In Time, starring Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried, which you would is a movie I somehow like hate and love at the same time. It's bad and good at the same time. It's written and directed by Andrew Niccol, for who people don't know, is the writer of The Truman Show. He wrote and directed Gattaca, and a couple other like pretty good movies. This is also written and directed by him, and it's funny because it really emphasizes on taking money to like doing it. Like on one hand, it's very like heavier concepts, like Smarter, because it's taking money to time, and really lays into like what like, you know, like when we talk about inflation going on in America, he puts it more literally. Like when inflation goes on there, you literally die like that. But at the same time, it's a horribly stupid action movie starring Justin Timberlake, who I gotta say he cannot frontman a movie. He can't. He just it
That's
doesn't
why he's
work.
the troll now, Brian. He voices the troll.
I know. I don't know. It's just like one of those movies where like I think it has some great concepts, and I'm also wondering like this is the way he followed up the Truman Show. That's kind of funny. But yeah, there was a lot of things I watched because I know we've been 2 weeks, but it was a lot of good watches. Been to the theaters a few times, and I'm gonna kick it back to Jimmy because he always goes third.
Ooh, switching it up. I like it. Like I said, I was at the beach, so honestly, wasn't on my laptop too much. Wasn't watching a ton. The 2 movies I have watched in the last 2 weeks, I only kind of watched Rocky IV was on the television at the beach. And I was telling this to Mikey, to Micah, and I think it was Mike also, that I don't know if you guys remember, like obviously everyone remembers like, you know, Drago, he kills Apollo. But the whole walkout that Apollo does before that fight with Drago is like he raises Drago.
Is he America?
Yes,
isn't he like America?
He's Uncle Sam.
Out?
He's Uncle Sam, and it's the longest walkout I swear in the franchise. It's like 10-minute dance sequence where he's like dancing and pointing at Drago.
And I'm living in America.
Exactly.
That shit? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm like, if I'm Drago, I would have killed him. I would have killed him after that. Like, he made him stand there
funny.
while he danced in a circle around him.
Oh, man,
and then
funny.
the whole I love the "if he dies" quote. Like, that just gets me every time. But that movie's a geek. It obviously is hilarious.
Why does he train in the mountains? That's always my question.
Yeah, and he's chopping trees.
The altitude thing? I don't know.
Yeah, he has to train in Russia.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I rewatched A Complete Unknown. That was pretty good. I said it in my Letterboxd review. I'm going to stand on business. I still think Timmy should have gotten that statue. But speaking of Adrian Brody and the longest speech ever, he pulled it away. But yeah, those were my 2 watches. Micah, what'd you watch, brother?
So this has been on my watch list for a long time, but I watched Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, based on a recommendation from our buddy Nate, who saw a TikTok and was like, I want to see this. And I happened to own it, and we were chilling in between thunderstorms and hitting the pool and getting kicked out and going back to the pool. We just watched the movie in the interim. And, I mean, like, it shouldn't be surprising how modern, these older movies, this one's from, 64. This is, about the Cold War. This general goes insane, manages to launch a bomb squadron to go nuke Russia, and then kind of barricades himself in this base so no one can undo it. And it's so funny. It's like a straight up comedy, and it also feels like this is last week we watched this, last weekend, and so we're hearing about nukes. Nukes are on the TV. So it just felt really like a crazy person bombing someone, and then now you got to deal with the consequences of, do we just go all the way in? Crazy, we're already on the other side of that.
Yep.
But, well, who knows when this comes out? But it was also so funny. Speaking of, I don't know if did someone bring up Tim Robinson? I don't know. Maybe I was watching the clip that you had.
You were watching a clip that you were showing it. I was showing you before we started recording. Yeah.
There is an
I'll
actor
tell you about it, Ricky.
in this. It would have been George C. Scott. He plays this general named Buck, and he is doing a full Tim Robinson the entire movie. It was
Or is
amazing.
Tim Robinson doing him?
Oh, he is. That's how it goes. But it's amazing. They're in the Pentagon, and they're talking about nuking, and he's just like, what are you talking? I mean, it's awesome. It's fantastic.
So you're saying it's like a comedy? It's a comedy
Straight
from the
up
60s
comedy.
that feels like it fits in more with today.
I mean, this is gonna. 70... How many times have we been on the brink of this is
no? I meant more like the style of comedy. 'Cause sometimes you watch 70s comedies, and you're and your dad or whatever. It's like, and you're like,
oh yeah,
that wasn't very funny, but because it's different eras, vibe with different people.
What is his name? He did Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein.
Mel Brooks.
It felt kind of Mel Brooksy at times.
Okay, and he's pretty universal, I would say. I know it's not Mel Brooks who directed it, but style of comedy.
This was why am I blanking on this? This was Kubrick. This is Stanley.
I was gonna say, isn't it Kubrick?
Yeah.
I thought when you said Doctor Strange, I was like, I remember vividly people talking about the scene with the guy rodeoing the bomb.
Right.
That's the scene I always remember. I think of when you say that movie. I've never seen it. Now I kind of want to watch it.
Oh, man,
yeah, I haven't seen it either. But what a mythical pull by Nate of all people.
God,
shout out Nate if he's listening.
Do I know Nate?
You've definitely met him.
You've met him.
But this is the kid that once, I just want to say, Nate, I respect, I don't know his movie taste, but this is the kid that once told me that he was not excited for the new Transformers movie, the Rise of the Beasts one. And I'm like, ooh, okay, Nate, why are you not excited? Is it because it's out of Michael Bay's hands?
Megan Fox?
Why? And he goes, no, I just don't like how the robots can turn into animals. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. And I was like, all right. So, shout out Nate. But that's a mythical plot of him.
Yeah, and then what were you saying, Brad?
No, please finish your point.
I was gonna say we have a little bit of time has passed. I think right at the end of the last episode, I mentioned I was gonna go see The Materialists by the director of one of our movies of the week, and it was good. I saw it in a packed out showing.
Women are pissed about that one.
Well, It's
Well,
it's not a
piss,
rom com.
piss.
Yeah, it's not really a rom com. It's more like a, and it's interesting to watch that, and then watch Past Lives again and see how
Yeah.
those two relate. It's
Yeah.
very much of like, hey man, the dating and you're gonna get married.
Yeah.
Kind of everyone's the problem is kind of like
She has
one
a,
of the
we could
messages.
we're gonna talk about it more, obviously, Past Lives, but I feel like what's her name again? Celine Song.
Yeah,
Celine song. Yeah.
She has at least from Past Lives, and I haven't seen Materialist. She has a very honest way of looking at relationships. Like I remember when I saw.
Right.
We'll get into Past Lives. There was things I didn't expect. The only thing I want to say, because it's not in our movie news, is when you talk about a complete unknown, is that now with Jeremy Allen White being Bruce Springsteen, and people already going, he's already got that Oscar. Somebody tweeted, and I can't resonated so hard with this movie. Like, I need to go back in time and stop Bohemian Rhapsody from ever existing.
Right, yeah.
Because this is we're just on a cycle of trends of there being a new. I was telling one of my friends about it. I'm like, we're in the thing where every year there's a biopic about a musician. The title of the movie is something from one of their songs, and they're like, "Oh, he's a shoo-in for Best Actor." I'm like, "Stop it right now! I'm done." I know that, you like the Bob Dylan one, and I need to see it, and I will. I'm just sorry, I got mad about that.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with you. I was talking with my mom about it because she's a big Beatles fan, and I've been telling her, and she's probably listening, but she's listened to the episodes where we've covered the Beatles. Not even biopic, bio-universe that they're doing.
Yeah, they're putting together MCU.
And obviously it's a big thing nowadays. Like, Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan are both still alive. And I'm just curious, like, where they're going to draw the line. And so is the guy with the monkey one that you watched.
Robbie Williams.
Yeah, Robbie Williams.
Yeah, at least that one they tried to do something different with a CGI monkey.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Eric, you make a good point. Like, Bob Dylan is still alive. Yes.
He's older. He's definitely older. But Bruce Springsteen is chilling.
Bruce Springsteen he's touring.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I'm just sick of. I'm sure Jeremy Allen White is great, and maybe the movie. And I don't think the movie's gonna be bad, but it's kind of like, is this just a thing now? We're just like gonna be like, oh my god, how did he pull?
And he's gonna get a nom every year.
Well, every year.
Except for Taron Egerton for Elton John. He didn't get one.
I didn't hate that one either, which is funny. But I didn't like that movie, but I didn't hate the performance.
With the whole Bruce Springsteen thing and that clip of him that's like pretty viral of him sounding a lot like Bruce. Yeah, this movie is not about that album. I don't know when that takes place during the movie, but that is
talking
not.
about the Springsteen?
Yeah, that is not what the movie's about. You're not going to get rock and roll. You're not going to get rock and roll Bruce. You're getting sad Bruce with a guitar. And I wonder if that'll disappoint audiences. I'm sure other trailers will come out that go more into the story, but it sounds like this is like a healing process album, and it goes heavily into what he's healing from, which I guess involves his parents.
Right.
Yeah. I just think, like Eric said, is a good point, because I know how huge Bruce Springsteen is. I know what he's still touring. People love him. But, like, if it was 25 years from now, and he's dead, or really old, and they make this movie, and people are like, this is remember the guy, the legend. This dude is still selling out Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't need a biopic.
Like, doesn't need
he's
it
still
right
like,
now.
have you heard about his shows? Like, they are huge.
Oh, yeah.
Still. You can literally, like, he will sell out any stadium in your area now. So it's not like, remember the legend. The legend, I just saw him.
The legend.
Concert yesterday.
He's right over there.
He's still
younger than Tom Cruise, the legend.
The guitarist is the actor from The Sopranos. Like, the whole band is alive. Like, they're still touring. And I don't mean like the Rolling Stones, like, touring. No, they're like actively doing like 5-hour shows. Because they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. We don't have to derail too much. That was my one thing about that movie that made me crack up.
Actually pretty cool, because we're going to segue into who's going to be the Bond director, and a little bit of breaking news. It's going to save us some time right here, guys.
Really? Has it been announced?
A certain director made a statement. I'll read the statement, then I'll say who it is. Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father. Ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery, I'm a diehard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me. Denis Villeneuve, and a huge honor. And a huge honor.
Oh,
I was like, is this Paul King?
Oh shit!
You know what's so funny? I'm looking at this list, all like very respectable, very good directors.
Right.
Read the list
But
for us, Brad.
Yeah. Go through the
Okay,
list.
I'll go through it. So the list that we have in front of us, we have Edward Berger, who did Conclave and All Quiet on the Western Front, both great movies. We have Denis, who, let's be honest, when we get through this list, would be the most incredible Bond with all these, but no shade. You got Edgar Wright, who is, you got Last Night in Soho is the most recent one, Baby Driver, the Cornetto trilogy. He's great. I think that would be probably the most unique look at Bond.
That's the high risk, high reward one.
Jonathan Nolan, who helped write with Christopher Nolan, his brother, on a lot of the movies. Directing wise, mostly Fallout and Westworld. He's done a lot of writing credits.
Right.
But I don't know where he'd be involved in the script. But he is a capable film. He's been in these high budget movies before. He knows how to handle
All
them.
these men can write that are on the list. All these men can write. Yeah.
Paul King, who, my dog, did Wonka most recently and did the first two Paddingtons. British guy, too. Again, like, I would not... some people might be like, why would he be a Bond guy? When they hired Sam Mendes for Skyfall, people were pissed.
Right.
Like, beyond pissed. Because his most action-packed movie at that point was American Beauty. So... I'm just saying, like, that could be something. And then you have Alfonso Cuarón, but apparently has been taking himself out of the running.
Yeah.
So out of any of those directors, I think you'd be excited to see a Bond movie from any of them. But now you're hearing that Denis Villeneuve, because after Messiah, does he have another project lined up?
There's the Cleopatra movie with Zendaya.
Oh.
Yep.
And there's a few other things that he's got.
He's got some like Space Odyssey movie lined up that he.
Do we know?
They don't have an actor. They don't have a script. I think
But
they're
that-
looking for.
I think that's what
they're looking
didn't-
for vision.
Yeah,
'Cause
and I
all
think
these
what
guys-
Denis
yeah.
brings also, obviously, like looking at all these guys, obviously I wanted Denis, but like Edward Berger, I would have loved that too, and I still would.
He's great. All is Quiet is great.
But we
Right,
obviously know Denis comes with this slew of this cast of actors he's previously worked with, and who would most definitely work with him again. Like you could name off any of the guys from Dune. Obviously,
Well, one of them already played a Bond villain.
Yeah.
So we have to.
Yeah.
Javier's gone.
Yeah, Javier can't. But like, I mean, obviously, outside of Bond himself, like you could get several of these. You could go into any of the cast and pull someone out, and they'd be willing to come work with Denis again, which is exciting.
I'm with you, Eric. I like your point there because like that's the thing that I think is he brings him. I think him and Edgar Wright bring that element to this, where those two have such like Edgar Wright would be more like you get like some people who worked with him, Baby Driver. You have to, if you want to have a Simon Pegg, if you want a Simon Pegg to be like Q, Edgar Wright directing, that's where you're going to get that right there. But I think, like you said, Denis can bring a lot of people. I think Jonathan Nolan could a lot.
Yep.
Paul King feels like the safe bet. Edward Berger, Paul King feels like the safe bet if I'm who owns this company? I don't forget who owns Bond at this point.
Remember they sold it, so it's now it's.
So Amazon
fully,
owns
yeah,
it.
it's fully Amazon.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have someone like Paul King who's been proven with like he made a Wonka prequel pretty watchable.
Yep.
So I think he's a safe bet. Edward Berger's obviously a talented director. I feel like they're probably gonna go. If I was a betting man, I would say it's gonna be King, Nolan, or Berger.
I think tonally, I would be so worried about Paul. I mean,
no, I don't think it should be. I don't think it
different.
should be. I'm saying it could be.
Yeah, but then for me, I think honestly, this might be controversial because we all love Denis, but Edward Berger has
He would rip.
directed two
I
of
agree.
the tightest, like everything, like just amazing technically, story wise, tight, concise, thrilling, start to finish, leaves you thinking. And impacted. For me, he would be my pick if you wanted to do like a serious Bond.
Yeah.
Ricky, I feel like you and I might have the same thought here. Like I love Denis, and obviously I'd be first in line.
Oh yeah.
But now that I can take a step back on the excitement, he's a little more grand scale. And he has made tighter films like Prisoners and Sicario, but like I'm kind of with you, Mike. Eric, I want to hear your opinion. I'm kind of with you, Mike. Maybe I feel like he's the kind of director now where he's looking more big picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think Berger might be the better choice, and I agree. I think
Yeah.
I'd be excited to see that.
I
Ricky,
think I think you guys both hit the two guys. Like looking from this list, with Corion, Alfonso going out, like to me it was clear like it should be Berger, Denis. But I think
would you be fine with Nolan? Would you be fine with Nolan?
that was the other guy I was gonna
Nolan,
say.
Jonathan Nolan be fine.
Cheaper.
He'd be good.
Cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, he would be cheaper, and he knows how to manage a script because what he did with Fallout is impressive. Sorry, Ricky.
But with both of those, because I think I'd be happy either way. And at the end of the day, like I think, like you said, tighter scripts. Like when you look at some of Denis' earlier work, sure, like can be very tight, but it's similar almost to Christopher Nolan in a way where now he's more focused on these larger grand scale productions, and I think he should stay in that world if we're being honest.
Like you rewatch Prisoners now with Denis, and it's like this is like such a it's a great movie, fantastic movie, but it's such a different Denis or Enemy, the one he did with Gyllenhaal. It's such a different Denis than we know now.
I think the closest thing would be Sicario if you're looking at it, just like in a way, and like I think Berger is more like lined up in a way to tell this story, and I'm just thinking All Quiet on the Western Front, like it would be a very dark, and like I'm all for it.
I think he is the right choice. I think we're all in agreement there. Now that when you kind of take a step back, I can see Jonathan Nolan being like a sub-in because it's Amazon because he's working with Fallout.
The only downside to Berger is the commercial aspect. All Quiet was a Netflix movie. Conclave, critically well received, made decent money. Made small budget indie drama money. Like good for that. Denis is more commercial now, but Blade Runner was a bomb.
Hey, listen, I'll say this, Micah, though, in defense of that. You look at No Time to Die, which came out in the worst time to come out as a movie, right? You have switching directors. It was supposed to be Danny Boyle. People forget it was supposed to be Danny Boyle, and then they end up like subbing it out, and it's Terry Joji Fukunaga who did Beast No Nation. He had directed, not wrote, True Detective Season 1. And it's still, I don't know how much money it made, but it's still pretty generally well received as a Bond movie. I feel like as Bond, you don't need to worry about your director's commercial explosion. Like the guys who directed Casino Royale, like that, who directed that movie was I know I'm going to be an asshole by forgetting that, but like, you know what I mean? Like if it's a big enough, if you guys can pull it up, I'm just saying that like Mike, I see your point, but I don't think they're worried about that. I feel like it's who's the best fit to do this, and like because Cary Joji Fukunaga, TV director, did a great job with No Time to Die.
So, sorry, just to answer your question.
No, that's all. That was the end of my point. I just want to know. I do want to know who
directed Casino Royale.
Is it Martin Campbell?
Goldeneye. It was Mark Campbell. He also did
so
The
he was an
Mask
old
of
Bond
Zorro.
director.
So he was an old Bond director, and he knew how to make a commercial.
I forgot he did
action
Goldeneye.
movie, and also Mask of Zorro.
I think that was the transition.
Action thrillers.
It's also the best Bond movie. Sorry,
it was also part of it. Was close to being on my list, but we'll get to the list later.
It was Eric. We were talking earlier. My list switched like 8 times.
I have so many honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But
wait. We were allowed to do honorable mentions. I deleted.
I didn't. But I had them
do
down
honorable
there.
mentions either.
But
speaking of honorable,
I think just to. Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably move.
Yeah. No.
What's your point, Eric?
My last point was just like because we know Amazon now and the way they're going with this, right? I'm just so curious, like which director is gonna want to work in that sort of, environment, but in a world where like you're gonna probably put out a movie and Amazon's probably gonna want to say, let's make like 3 spin-off shows, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think I'd like to think they wouldn't do that though, because wasn't that the whole thing? Like if Bond goes beyond the movies, I don't know who's behind Amazon, but like if you miss the fucking point, like I feel like that's the whole novelty. You have a franchise that you don't need once. There have been bad stretches of Bond movies. Actually, I would argue there's more bad Bond movies than good Bond movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, that's not even an argument.
What does
that's
bad
that's
mean
just
though
true.
for Bond? Like he was
It's kind of similar to Star Wars.
No, I'd say mediocre, right? Like forgettable Bond movies.
Goofy,
versus
dumb,
good one. Goofy.
silly.
But
Yeah,
you could. It's like a
like-
bad movie, but is it good Bond? Is the question.
Daniel Craig
Like,
has a hit rate of about what 50-60%, which is pretty good.
I think I'd say
as
2.5
Bond.
to 3 out of 5. And
I say 3 out of 5.
And
I
a
say
writer's
so.
strike, so like
Yeah.
cut him some slack.
No. Well, Quantum of Solace is gone. Sorry,
Quantum of Solace
I
can
know
get
it's a
shot
writer's
in
strike,
the
but that's
sun,
Spectre gone. But I think Casino Royale and Skyfall are fantastic, and I think No Time to Die is very, very serviceable. Like that is a very,
exactly
very
what I
solid,
stand on
good
the-
Bond movie.
well,
I did not
I
like
don't-
the
like, I
villain, but everything else, was good.
I don't think anyone's saying No
really
Time to Die is their favorite, but I think it's just I couldn't sit there and be like No Time to Die was bad because
Right.
it wasn't. I enjoyed it.
Right.
He died. Oh, it's spoilers. He
Ooh.
died.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Someone's like, "Yo, one of the 50 people, one of the 40 people who watch this podcast are like, dude, I can't believe you spoiled that shit for me."
Are you serious?
Someone we know.
Dude, what the fuck? The fuck?
But speaking of how scary and dangerous a spinoff or a sequel could be, the Social Network 2. Actually, who put this in here? Someone read this.
I did.
I did.
It's
I
a
did.
wall of
I did
text.
put it in there.
Yeah,
Learn to format.
I really got. I went down a rabbit hole on this because
Learn
I
to-
was. As soon as I started adding stuff, I saw this and I had to read the whole article about it.
I
because
didn't
get
even
in
know
the
this was a
bullets.
thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So-
this was a thing.
Yeah, I'll read this out, guys. The Social Network 2 is officially in development, which is crazy because that movie came out in what, 2009?
Yeah, 10.
2010.
Trust me, I was looking at the Best Picture winners over the nominees over the
Yeah,
years. Dude.
yeah.
It was 2010.
So this one
Boston
is
speech.
it's in development by Sony. It is Aaron Sorkin is set to write and direct, and obviously Aaron Sorkin won an Oscar for writing the original Social Network. He's also other things. He's written Moneyball, A Few Good Men, and he's directed more recently. I don't know if you guys have seen any of these movies. Feel free to chime in. Molly's Game, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Being the Ricardos. I know of the
He's a
first
better writer
two.
than a director. He's a better writer than director. I've seen Molly's Game. I think that's a poker one, right?
Yes, with
I'll
Jessica
be honest,
Chastain.
all of those are pretty mid to weak.
Yeah.
Right? They're not
Okay.
great. I thought it was
Yeah.
fine.
But the premise of this movie, it's not a straight sequel, so we're not picking up exactly where we left
So why?
they
Then why
left
call
off.
it?
And
Oh,
so
wait till you hear it, Brian. Wait till you hear
Sorkin's original screenplay for the new movie, explores the story behind the Wall Street Journal's series of articles that got released in 2021 called the Facebook Files, which expose the inner workings and harms caused by Facebook, and there's a specific connection to the January 6th
That's so
storming of the Capitol, because Sorkin stated in an interview last year that he believed Facebook played a big part in that
Sure.
event. So this seems like a very politically charged
I don't-
take on
Actually, if I may,
Yeah.
I don't care about the fact that it's politically charged. If like that's what you can be controversial.
right.
Don't call it the Social Network too. That's fucking stupid. Like
They get
call
butts
it,
and seats.
Call. They made an American Psycho 2 that was not at all related, and that shit sucked. I know it's not the same thing. I'm just saying that, like, butts and seats. It's divisive enough. What are you worried about? The
Yeah.
draw?
Yeah.
Is David Fincher directing? Is Jesse Eisenberg reprising his role as fucking Mark Zuckerberg? Okay, I'm
Hey,
getting
man.
all worked
Hey,
up.
man.
Somebody else talk.
We know Fincher's busy. All right, he's like
Yeah.
eating
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino's scraps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen.
on Netflix.
He's also doing apparently Mindhunter might do a movie too. I heard.
I heard about
But
that.
they say that.
I'm
That's
excited.
kinda
I'm
like
actually,
it's kinda like-
watching
It's
season
kind of
one
like
right now.
It's kind of like the Community movie though, Micah. You sent me a thing where it's like any day now.
Donald Glover says
Did he
clearing
send me that,
everything.
Eric? I know you're off TikTok. He sent me a TikTok of like me, like it's a guy in a wheelchair being like, "They say the cast is getting back together. Just
Okay,
waiting
Grandma.
on the script." It's like, okay, Grandma. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just saying like that's my point though. It's like the Mindhunter, this and that, David Fincher. I'm just saying like the Social Network was Sorkin and David Fincher combining to make a movie that is above and beyond. I don't know. I guess you're saying putting butts in seats, but this just seems like Sorkin had another screenplay that happened to be, I guess, Facebook adjacent. But this almost seems like true. I don't even know.
And no one else
yeah.
really wants to take a stab at it except him, maybe, or maybe he wants to do it for himself.
He's directing it. He's directing it himself. Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah.
He brings a real Hamilton energy to his political movies. At least recently, I'm thinking about Trial of Chicago 7. It ends with like an everyone clapped kind of moment, and it's just like you see those memes. It's like sorry for living out, but like he's not sorry, and it's a little bit like you love it. Like, Hamilton's cool, soundtrack dope. At some point, you got to be like, it's like maybe leave it in 2016. Like doing a January 7th Facebook is evil retrospective. Do we need it? Like
no.
5 years, 6 years removed. It's like Eddington. It's
especially
like, are we
the way
too
the country
close?
Is now.
Yeah.
Are
like
we
the way
too
the country
close?
is now? It's like, are we just trying to like rile up? And also, I think the thing that Aaron Sorkin, very talented writer, needs to realize is like the Social Network script that he wrote, very great. It's great.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been nearly as good if Fincher wasn't behind the camera? No, not even. Right? Like there's some sharpness behind that. Moneyball. Oh fuck, I'm gonna forget his name.
I think it's Bennett or something directed it.
Bennett McKen. Yeah, you know what I'm talking. Anyway,
Matt
whoever
Bennett,
directed
maybe?
that, they did a great job doing that. I know he did The West Wing was his show with Martin Sheen.
That's what I'm talking about. Living out.
Bennett Miller.
But there are
That's what
other. His writing is there. I think there's probably a script that he wrote that is maybe worth bringing to light. But him being behind the helm makes me think like this thing's gonna be handled with the subtlety of a fucking sledgehammer. Like you gotta,
not to jump too far ahead.
You gotta have some more talented.
Not to
Sorry,
jump
go
too
ahead,
far
Micah.
ahead, but talking about the marriage of Fincher and Sorkin, with one of our movies of the week, it reminds me of the marriage between Garland and Boyle. That
Boyle,
they bring out the best in each other and balance out
the
worst
out
in
some
each
of each
other.
other's worse.
Because you look at some of the Garland stuff, like Men or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't know.
When Boyle.
Oh, was it yesterday? Oh,
yeah.
So
That's what I was
they
just
need
thinking,
each other. They need each other.
When Boyle has a screenwriter who doesn't have the strength to be like, that's not what I meant, he will go full like, oh, what if we did this? That'd be crazy. and then at the same time, if Alex Garland, who's a very like fuck you kind of filmmaker,
oh yeah, he's like, I hate people.
Yeah, I fucking hate
nature's
you.
good.
We'll get back into that. I think that's why I'm a little, and we'll talk about it more. That's why I'm a little worried that Nia DaCosta is directing the sequel, which they've already shot.
Right.
Is that I think like you said, Boyle and like you said, Fincher and Sorkin, Fincher's a stickler. Every shot he cares about. So I feel like for him, he took this is a great script, but I'm going to make it better. Whereas, and they checked and balanced, or Garland and Boyle, where I'm sure there was. I can only imagine what the behind the scenes were 28 weeks later or 28 years later was like. There must have been like, that's not what I like. And be like, well, you're fucking stupid. Oh, I'm Danny Boyle. I made Slumdog Millionaire. So he's like, did you see Ex Machina? You hear them talking about it in interviews. He's like, I think we both progressed as filmmakers. I know people say we had a falling out after Sunshine. We did. But, yeah, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. But it's just,
That's great.
Love Sunshine though.
Oh no, I love that movie.
All right.
Oh man.
Any last thoughts, Eric?
Sorry.
Or should
I got sidetracked. No, I got
No,
sidetracked.
No, I mean this is kind of a wait and see, right? I think the sentiment also is like that. You started with Brian, and then you echoed Mike as like, do we need this? Do we really need this?
No.
And does it need to be tied to the original Social Network?
But one thing we do need is Top Gun 3.
Woo! Bam.
Yes, sir.
That's
Highway. What? Sorry, I was on.
I said
The spirit of Tom just took me over.
I said talk to us, Mike.
Oprah.
Talk to us.
Oprah.
Oh God, he's gonna.
Sorry.
Yo, whoa.
My bad.
Yo, can I see that again?
That's the
Can I see that
reaction
again?
when Tom got up there as well. But that was the past.
So, are we seeing Joseph Kosinski back behind the helm? Micah, tell us a little bit about Top Gun 3, or I'm seeing like, what am I seeing here?
Oh, you know what? Just like Tom, I jumped over what I was supposed to read first. Eric, you got this one?
Which one? About Top Gun 3? I was going to leave the other
that.
Tom Cruise one for you to read out, too.
Ah,
but
okay.
with this
All right,
Top
we can
Gun
talk Top Gun 3.
Top Gun 3, yeah. Obviously, Joseph Kosinski, who directed Top Gun Maverick and is directing F1 right now, which is he's on a huge media tour. Is being asked about Top Gun 3. Interview with, I think it was Variety. He said this new move that there are some updates for Top Gun 3. The biggest thing is the story. The movie's potentially greenlit, but they don't want to go through with it unless the story is strong enough. And the story they have right now is that Maverick is having an existential crisis. Outside of, I feel like that's the second movie in a nutshell, but
I kind of thought that was too, but hey,
Aaron Kruger is working on the screenplay currently. He wrote the screenplay for F1.
Who wrote Dumbo?
The Transformers franchise, and then Dumbo. So
funny.
kind of a all over the place thing he's got going on. But yeah, I want to know your guys' thoughts. He also made another comment here about Tom Cruise and then Brad Pitt, but we'll get into that in a second.
I was gonna say all I'm gonna say is because I've already been talking more for this. I just feel like I don't need a Top Gun 3 necessarily. I would just like to see Joseph Kosinski, Tom Cruise too, or Brad Pitt. These F1 Maverick style movies. You feel me? Like it could be Bob's. Well, actually, that sounds a little lame. But you get my point. Like it could be something in the things where they're like
motorcycles.
Yeah. Whatever it is. I will watch a million.
actor
I will watch a million of Joseph Kosinski pairing up with whether it's Tom Cruise, whatever. Put Tom Cruise in a jet again. If you don't have a story for Top Gun, then don't make it Top Gun. And I'm okay with that. And that's my one point, and I'll pass it off.
I'll say this too. Coming out of Top Gun 2, or Top Gun Maverick, I remember one of my buddies, John, saying like, "Oh, Top Gun 3 is gonna rip," and I just didn't think. I was like, "Leave it alone." Like this is a perfect legacy sequel.
Lightning in a bottle.
Leave it alone. Perfect legacy sequel. It made money. It saved theaters. It kind of almost seems inevitable. If Tom wants it to happen, it's gonna happen. But I'm curious if they're gonna go through on this whole like, how many times do we think Maverick is gonna like almost die, or are we gonna treat this kind of similar to Ethan Hunt survived at the end of Mission Impossible. Is Tom is he feeling like, hey, let's get rid of Maverick, let's have him go out in a blaze of glory. So I don't know. I mean, how old is he gonna be when they make that movie, man?
I think we're
He doesn't care.
I think we're overthinking this. This is an age-old recipe for making money. You put a movie star in a movie where shit goes boom bang,
Goes fast,
and like everyone like
He's right.
even down to the people walking, the extras on the street. Everyone's hot, like shit's cool. Aviators, whatever. This is the same recipe you use for the John Wick franchise. Doesn't matter what's happening. No, what are we all waiting for? For him to start shooting, punching, kicking, and walking around. He can't even deliver his lines. He's like a bad actor. It doesn't matter. It's household name in movie where shit blows up and it's cool.
Yeah.
Like that's all we need. Plain loud, Tom Cruise famous,
honestly,
what was
like
the woman behind the bar? Like that, the song, do the song. Whatever. It doesn't matter. F1,
Let's keep it
Brad
going.
Pitt in a car, Idris Elba in a car, Jodie Comer, not Jodie Comer, what's her name? Is there.
It does look like Jodie Comer. It does look like Jodie Comer.
Tate McRae is there. Boom. All right. It doesn't matter. All right. Every Arnold movie.
Put someone else in a.
He can't read. He can't speak English hardly. It doesn't matter. Give him a gun, or a child. He did both. It doesn't matter. How did The Rock get famous? Household name.
Put him in a speedo.
He had wings on in his first movie. He was the Tooth Fairy. Didn't matter.
That was his first movie.
Oh yeah, the Tooth Fairy. Guess where I was? In theaters, as you should be, because that's how you do it. It doesn't matter. Just make it. Put him in the plane. Blow up an anonymous country. Whatever. Do it again.
That's a fair counter argument.
Come up with a third bird.
It'll make money.
It will make money.
Think of a new vehicle.
Yeah.
New aging movie star. Joseph Kosinski's directorial talents.
Yep. We don't have enough movie stars though.
Let's speedrun. Name an 80s action star. Name one. Anyone. Give me one.
Well, my first thought was Bruce,
say
but
Keanu
he's not.
Well, I was gonna say like Harrison Ford, but like
Harrison
He
Ford,
hates
put him in a
doing stuff.
helicopter.
he does not like doing stuff.
Yo, fuck. Yo,
He'd do it for a check, though. We know that.
fuck.
He
Yeah.
would do it for a
Oh my
check.
god, fuck. Oh man.
So I don't
could
know.
be so bad. Holy shit. Oh, dude, that just kill him. Sorry, I was laughing so hard.
But Harrison Ford, I mean, I know they're doing planes right now with Tom, but Harrison Ford, we know, likes planes. He's not really good at flying them, but considering he's been in like 5 plane crashes. But like,
turn off my plane.
oh my god.
Holy fuck.
I
Oh,
mean,
man, you guys
Keanu
cracked
already
me up.
has a franchise. Trying
Yeah,
to
we
think.
can't do Keanu.
I mean, there's Samuel L. Jackson. Jackson. You know.
Yo, here it is. I just actually had it. We're gonna do some Renaissance, like early 2000s guys. Put like Ben Foster, Josh Hartnett. I can name a couple others. Let's think. Who else?
Brendan
was big
Fraser.
then and isn't now? Brendan, there's a great one. You lose weight, right? What's Ozempic?
Bad back.
He can
Bad
lose
back.
weight.
Who's gonna bring in the
Put him in a
ladies?
jet.
Who's gonna bring in the ladies?
Josh Hartnett. He's hot as hell. That's my man crush right there.
Let's
All
get
right.
controversial. Tossing Johnny Depp in there. Let's see what happens.
Also,
That's actually that's a good. I know he's controversial, but that's actually a good like actual like formula. What you're talking about? Oh, maybe not.
well, that was how you made Pirates.
Orlando Bloom, Gran Turismo. He wasn't even in the car. Do it again.
Bald.
Is he? Yeah. Okay, Micah.
well,
Divorced.
Clooney.
Clooney.
There's a good one.
But Clooney's been
Damon,
perpetually like
Clooney,
50.
Damon
for...
Wahlberg. Clooney. There you go. I just
He
named
doesn't
three.
give
Clooney,
at
Damon Wahlberg.
Clooney's cerebral though. You know, he's cerebral.
He could be that guy.
Statham's 2B movie. Unfortunately, he's not an A-lister.
No. He's doing, but
What about a
he
woman?
has his own like
And-
niche. Like
Angelina Jolie, she still has it in her. Give her one good shot.
I'd
Give her one good
love
shot.
to see
Give me
Angelina
Salt too.
Jolie.
Give me Salt too.
What kind of vehicle would we need to put Angelina Jolie in?
Heels. I don't.
I'm
My bad.
thinking. You say what? Kia?
I said heels.
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh, I mean, think about what was the one with the guns and they could curve the bullets.
Oh, Wanted.
Dumbest thing ever.
Wanted.
So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
FX.
Yeah. You got
Daily.
freaking
Salt.
Okay, let's keep going.
We were talking about women now.
No.
And I said Angelina Jolie.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Angelina
Yeah.
Jolie would rip.
I think Angelina Jolie's great. Let's think of Sandra Bullock, maybe. I'm trying to think of like
hasn't
I'm really
done
thinking like
enough action.
90s action.
She was in the Oceans.
And Speed.
Ocean's
She was in
Ocho?
Speed.
Oh, you're right.
Ocean's
You're right.
Ocho.
She was in Speed. Ocean's Ocho. She was in Speed.
Anne
I'm trying to think of-
Hathaway. I still
Wait,
think
didn't
about
Lin-
Get Smart.
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway's a great
Into
one.
those
That's a great one.
lasers.
Charlize Theron did Atomic Blonde.
Charlize
I can see
Theron's
that
still doing her
too.
thing.
Yeah,
I could
she's
see,
got a Netflix
who's-
actioner coming
If
out.
you want to go old, if you want to go older, you can go like Sigourney Weaver or Linda Crawford from the Terminator one. That's older.
Yeah.
But I could still see it.
Very
Um,
huge gulf in acting ability, in my opinion. But yeah,
I agree. Linda Crawford was Sarah Connor, and that was her
Is-
thing.
Yeah.
it's still Sarah Connor.
Hey, before she could do chin-ups. That's still the
I mean, the
funniest
woman
line.
from the Fast and Furious, they literally hired her because they were like, we need someone who can kind of look like they can
Which
fight. And she
one?
was like a kickboxer. She's the main woman. Dom's girlfriend. What was her name?
Wait.
She was
Dom's
discovered.
Oh, Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes,
Michelle
Michelle
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah,
discovered
yeah.
because she looked like she can fight because she did kickboxing, and then now she's like, a famous actress.
I feel like Jolie's a good one. It'd be kind of funny
Jolie's
if they put
like
someone who's
the
not
one.
typically like. What about like if you put like Courtney Cox or like Jennifer Aniston, like one of the Friends cast?
Wait, what about
Ooh.
we got Cameron Diaz?
She
That is
just
good.
got back
Um,
into acting too.
Or what? Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one.
Or
Cameron Diaz can do action too. I think.
you know what?
She's
Hire
great.
everyone from Charlie's Angels.
Lucy Liu. Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu would
revamp
be
would be sick. Actually, no.
crazy.
Fuck everything we
Yes.
just said. Lucy Liu revamp. I'm so in.
Oh
for
yeah.
it.
Okay,
Lucy
That's a
Liu,
great one.
Angelina Jolie, and then the one from Kill Bill. Come on, help me out.
Uma Thurman.
Oh,
She'd
the
rip.
three of them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they're on
I love that.
motorcycles.
Wait, I feel like Eric's got one.
No, I'm saying we need to get back on fucking track because we're not even close to getting.
Oh,
through
you're right. You're right. You're
Our
right.
movie,
Jesus,
dude.
yeah.
Sorry.
Holy shit.
But anyway, hire
But-
movie stars.
Higher movie stars.
Okay, let's
I
go.
will say, and there's a follow up to this. Kaczynski, all this Kaczynski talk about him getting bringing in aging veterans of the Hollywood industry, the movie industry, putting them in movies together, giving them like these F1s, these Top Gun Mavericks. He was asked if he were to pitch a Cruise and Pitt collaboration movie, which has been talked about a lot. Well, apparently, like Tom Cruise is going to all of these F1 premieres now.
I know.
And him and Pitt are like
hugging. They actually hate each other.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know.
But it seems copacetic. I mean, they seem amicable. But if
they both liked it enough.
Yeah, Kaczynski said his pitch would be to do a combined sequel to both F1 and Tom Cruise's Days of Thunder, where I forget Tom Cruise's character's name, but it would be Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise playing Sonny Hayes and I think it's Corey something.
I'm so excited for F1.
Yeah. But some sort of sequel to that where they're both race car drivers, which would be crazy.
I didn't know Cruise did a race car movie. I didn't know that. Fun fact.
There you go.
I never seen Days of Thunder.
I know. It's on my list to watch like next week.
Yeah. But speaking of Tom Cruise, Micah, you want to talk about the other Tom Cruise news we have here?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the power of a movie star, Tom Cruise is getting his honorary Oscar, just like lifetime achievement, So it's like Oscar with an asterisk. And it's important because he is so valuable to like cinema and getting people to theaters and that kind of thing, and he's really dedicated to that. But also, I was just thinking, like, the Oscars always like complaining about their viewership going down. I think this is how you get viewership up. Like, just first of all, nominate people that people know that are also doing good work. That's step one. I mean, look at the music category. What a wasted opportunity that always is.
Yep,
sure.
But I'm saying, like, usually these aren't done during the telecast. They're usually given out like a couple of nights prior at the Governor's Awards or whatever they do.
That's what they did. Jackie Chan.
I was gonna bring up
this
Jackie
one.
Chan.
Yeah, Samuel. Was it Samuel? No, was it Samuel L. Jackson that got one?
I only know the Jackie Chan.
Also not televised,
but
yeah, I'm not sure.
To your point,
they could bring it in.
Give Tom a mic and put him up there. I think if you did similar to, I don't even know why they did the Bond like celebration tribute this year. Because
they didn't have good musical acts that year, so they're like, let's do it.
We did a Bond tribute in a year. A Bond movie didn't even come out. That's so crazy.
Give Tom like a whole tribute. I don't care. Then put him up there. Give him a speech. And like, I think we all have the same sentiment. Like, this is way overdue. Good for him that he's getting it. Oscar with an asterisk. He can still go and get one, especially with the stunt category being added to the Oscars. He can still go and get one. So
there's he's got a movie coming out that should be pretty serious, more dramatic, and people are wondering if he's going to pull a Bill Pullman, where he won one of these lifetime achievements 1 year. The next year he won for acting. And that was his mentor, people are wondering. But Bill Pullman had, at that point, been nominated 8 times. He was taken super seriously, well respected. Tom Cruise,
a little bit different.
3 nominations. I mean, I wasn't really conscious for this, but he was erratic, divorced a bunch, the whole
Katie Holmes thing, and
it was like the mid 2000s, like. It was around War of the Worlds. I feel like
early 2000s. Yeah,
that was.
I
like that movie.
Man.
I like that
movie
what anyone
a lot. Says. That movie's great.
That movie ripped. I like that movie.
Tom Cruise is great in that movie.
Spielberg,
Yeah.
He done no wrong. I got so mad about the Spielberg thing. If you watch Jaws on Peacock, which by the way they have the full 4K stream, and it's great. Ooh. But I put in my Letterboxd review, they have it stupid. Spielberg comes out and goes like, "Damn, can't believe this movie got so big." I'm like, "Fuck you!" He's like, "It's like life's crazy, bro. Like this little movie that we made back in the '70s is so big."
My little art project.
Let me just wipe my tears with my fucking Oscar. Fuck you. Sorry, that was my only thing.
If you were on the heater he was on in the '70s, I'd be insufferable. I would also make Ready Player One.
He was directing Columbo episodes before that people consider the best episodes of the show. I don't even care about. This dude's nuts. Anyway, we should probably move on.
All right, yeah. We should definitely move on.
I think we should skip. This Hunger Games news. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, we can skip the Hunger Games news, but they've cast Beatty and his son.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough watch.
Yeah,
I saw a picture of the kid.
Sad.
Is
he cute?
Oh, he's adorable.
Is he cute?
He's so young too. Like, it's adorable.
He's
it's gonna be
Eric, you finished the.
I
Eric
finished the book.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
It's like my nephew.
So.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be a
super
tough
dead.
scene. I think I saw they casted like what's the main like Panache or whatever. The big
Yeah, we talked. Did we talk about that?
Oh, no, but a bunch of the other kids that are going to
Yeah.
be in the arena.
and the
Oh, no,
Silka or whatever. The last.
My roommate Robin finished the book check because I gave her the book after that, and I think she was the one who said about Panache. Like, is he a black? I can't remember what he.
They've got that
so-
agriculture district.
Yeah.
So she was. I think it's, and I was saying, I remember I said to her, I was like, I think you think about, because the original Hunger Games, when you hear tributes, you picture whoever that dude who played Kato was, big, blonde, and buff.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you picture. And I think, like, she's like, I didn't picture like a career being black. She's a black woman herself, so she can say that. She's like, I was like, yeah, like, I didn't either, actually. Every time I picture, when I was reading Panache in the book, I was just picturing Kato again. Because that's just how it works.
Yeah, it was the same in the Catching Fire, the tributes. Looked very similar. It was
like
the two,
one of them?
yeah, the Alan, yeah, they had him.
yeah.
They was like one of the guys
Thad's
that like
one of them,
they filed their teeth into points, which made no sense.
This movie's gonna be really sad. That's what we know.
There's a reason he's got a drinking problem.
Oh yeah,
This is
yeah.
a funny loop around to the movie star conversation again. Our guy Will Smith, who is a movie star, I think his career is in a weird spot. I mean, wins an Oscar,
undeniably.
immediately gets himself banned from the Oscars, and then,
Hasn't really.
blasts off in the YouTube space. Like, he's just becoming like an influencer. He's got
That
weird
shit was
wife
so-
stuff going on. Like, she releases a
And
book
then he-
being
and then
like,
he-
I always loved Tupac. And, all this stuff. All that stuff. His
But
kids
an
are...
he
But an
dropped that
undeniable-
song, bro.
Yeah,
he dropped that
Yeah.
music.
Did you see the tweet where like they sped it up and they slowed it down? It
Yeah.
bangs both ways.
I like pretty
I don't
girls.
know how they perfectly managed to miss two heaters, and they and
Eric, that shit just killed me. Sorry, I don't know what it was.
I like pretty girls.
But Eric, Mike, like you were saying, undeniably a movie star,
Right.
yeah.
As long as he's been around, like you forget there was an era where you could not escape this dude in the theaters.
Right.
or on TV.
He's at the point. He's at the point where he was at a point at one point, especially in that like early 2000s, late, you know what I mean, like the
Late 90s,
2005
late
to
90s.
2010.
Yeah.
I would even say after that, where it'd be like you have to specify which like dystopian movie you had to we're starring Will Smith.
Right.
Like with I Am Legend, I, Robot. I'm sure he has more that I'm blanking on. Like he was up.
After Earth.
You can call Wild Wild West pretty dystopian.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's bad. That was the same dude who directed Men in Black. So that was supposed to be a hit.
Hey,
That
the
was supposed to be a
song,
knocker.
Get Me Mad. It's
I know,
the
but
Wild
I know,
Wild
but-
West.
They literally paired up. They literally did an existing comic book movie based on directed by what's the guy named Barry? What's his fucking name? I'm blanking.
I don't have it.
And then pair up Will Smith with a successful white actor, Tommy Lee Jones, and then Kevin Kline in Wild Wild West, and that one flopped. It's not good.
Well,
It's
it's weird.
So bad.
It's like
just-
it's like Westro, retro, futuristic.
There's
and
like
it just doesn't work.
is that the
It's
robot
just not
spider or
funny.
whatever it is?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Yes,
yeah.
Eric, exactly. It is the relative. It's not funny at all.
But Will Smith has come out in an interview recently and opened about the movie roles he's turned down. Some of them were pretty like insane to think about who he could have been,
I knew
the
about them.
roles and the directors he could have been paired up with. The Matrix, Django Unchained, and Inception were the main three he talked about.
I knew about the Matrix. I knew about
Yeah,
that one.
I had heard about
didn't
the
know about other
Matrix. Django, that was news to me. I hadn't heard that. And then Inception is crazy to think he could have been working with
two.
Nolan.
Who was he going to be? Was he going to be Cobb? Who was he going to be?
Yeah,
did he say?
I think Cobb. He didn't go into. He just said that it was pitched to him, and similarly to the Matrix, his sentiment was that these sci-fi movies didn't pitch well. Was his whole spiel.
I'm thinking back on this because obviously with Django, I'm assuming he was pitched. I'm assuming he was pitched Django, unless he was pitched Samuel L. Jackson's role. Which, if it's Tarantino, there's no way that was the case.
No.
I think the Matrix. He's even admitted they made the right call. He said, like, I think that was a good call, me passing.
Yeah.
He said, I think he said that in an interview before.
I don't dispute that. I don't dispute that. I just happen to disagree.
No, okay. Actually, let me rephrase this again. I could see Will Smith working as Neo or Morpheus in the Matrix. I think with Django Unchained, um, I'm so ingrained seeing Jamie Foxx, but I don't actually know for sure if that wouldn't work. Here's what I'll say about Inception: if he was Arthur or Tom Hardy's character, or actually you could name a million of other characters, even Cillian Murphy's character, I could be like, yeah, I could see that working. I don't know if I see him as Cobb. That's my one thing, actually. I think if I could say that. Like, I'm not saying I actually could see Will Smith in Inception. I just don't know if I see him as Cobb. But if you guys could, I'm curious to hear why. Something about it, like, if he was one of his other guys, I could see that. Or
I don't have like a
bad
specific
guy.
character for.
I couldn't see him
those.
as Killian's character.
Joseph Killian's character, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Tom Hardy's character.
Yeah, I
That's
couldn't see him as
probably
Killian's.
pretty much it.
Just 'cause I still have Killian's like final scene with like the little like fan with his dad like ingrained in my mind, and like the way he's like young but he's not that young.
But something Cobb was.
But with Cobb, I don't know. I kind of disagree. I could kind of see him playing
Really? Okay.
Cobb's role, but I guess I am also ingrained. I don't really remember. I remember. I guess the more I think about it, Leo's performance does stand out a bit to me.
I don't think he has. I think Arthur. So like Mike, I want to let you go on this too. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character offered a little more of like banter and wit. He does a lot of the exposition for the movie, especially because you're kind of following it from Ellen Page's character's perspective. And I could see Will Smith really, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a lot of screen time in that movie. Like he'd be doing the whole hallway fight scene. Yeah. Like I could see Will Smith crushing that role. Like he'd be the one kind of being like, "This is a totem," explaining the totem to Ellen Page and all that. Something about Cobb is so fucking like just like sulking and brooding. Which I feel like if you got Will Smith, why would you want him to be in a role where he's like being like, "I can't talk about anything." I'm Leo DiCaprio. Sorry. Yeah. That's my opinion on that. I don't know. What do you think, Micah?
I mean, I just liked him. I would like him more. I think in the Matrix as Leo or Neo. I think that'd be cool.
I can see that.
The other two movies, like, doesn't matter. Like him.
Was he offered Neo? Or was he offered?
He didn't say. He didn't say. I would assume at his status, it would be Neo or nothing.
Because I hate like I why do I remember him calling me to be like, and then they. Or was it more because I think what he said was he was supposed to be Neo, but if he had been Neo, they wouldn't have done Fishburne as Morpheus. I don't think he was offered Morpheus, but it was something like that. Something about him not getting cast led to Lawrence Fishburne being cast as Morpheus.
I don't know.
I don't know if it was a 1-to-1 plug-in or if it was because I don't know. I could see it,
but I think it's interesting. It opens up a conversation of like obviously there are other actors who have turned down roles like Matt Damon in Avatar. Is a big one that gets talked about a lot.
300 mil.
Yeah, like he turned it down. There are obviously other ones we may never know about, but it's interesting to think about these.
Do you ever wonder? Do you ever like think about like, hey, why don't we see Sam Worthington anymore? And then you realize he's made
so much money
from those two movies alone, about 600 million.
He's just chilling.
And you'd be like, yeah, I probably wouldn't go act again either. He's also got like 4 more of these bitches to do.
Yep.
He's literally set for life.
We'll see. I think it might be wraps for a
you think he's good? You
it
think
might
he's
be
dead?
wraps.
You think he's dead? You think
Send
he's
him
dead
off
the
with a
third
couple
one?
hundred million.
Well, Mike and I got tickets to Jurassic Park. Is it in IMAX? No, it's in Dolby. Because apparently that's where they're dropping the trailer for the Odyssey. But we're also hearing the Avatar trailer should be dropping soon. So
you said that, yeah, Micah.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Yeah, I heard Odyssey before Jurassic because it's the last summer blockbuster coming from Warner Brothers, which is.
You said the Odyssey is.
Yeah. No. Jurassic is. So they're going to put that Warner Brothers movie for next year in front of the last blockbuster this year.
Because they're both next year, right? Avatar and
Avatar's this year.
2026.
Right.
Oh,
they are showing the Odyssey trailer, a Warner Brothers movie, in front of Jurassic, a Warner Brothers movie.
Got it. Sorry.
No.
Sorry. I heard the Avatar thing and I was confused.
Well, I mean, it is a viable thing because the Avatar trailer hasn't dropped and that movie's supposed to be coming out this year, right? So
Yeah. Is there a big Fox movie coming out or Disney?
I mean, would it be Fantastic Four?
It might be.
They're not marketing that movie anymore, which is weird.
Fantastic Four.
Like,
I'm saying
They just
nothing.
dropped.
It's butt
They just
marketing.
dropped. Yeah, they just dropped another
Oh,
trailer. For
I
it.
was
over
gonna
here.
say, I feel like it's I saw somebody say, and maybe it's just my feed. I didn't see a lot, and then someone said they've been marketing this worse than Thunderbolts, and I'm like, well, that doesn't seem true.
Well, I think what's
But I just
interesting
haven't
right
seen
now is
anything.
that Pedro has been on a weird schedule with the press tour for Materialists. He's also filming the current dog shit Doomsday. So I don't think he can go around and do these big press tours. And they're all four of them are filming the new Avengers movie, so they're not really doing a press tour for this.
The Thing's beard.
I did see that. Yeah.
I didn't
I don't know
watch
how
the
I
new
feel
trailer.
about that.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm
I don't know
gonna
how I
see
feel
it
about that.
because I see almost everything. But you know,
Yeah.
at this point,
But
whatever they do.
Yeah, I get it.
speaking of
I
Marvel,
get it.
let's talk about the big Marvel couple, I guess. Right, starting with that boy Tom Holland. Who put this in here? Anyone want to talk
I
about
did.
Tom?
All right, so we've got 10 years now, as of yesterday, of Tom
Sure.
Holland as the MCU Spider-Man, and I just wanted to do like a little retrospective. We've been yapping as we do, but just like a quick retrospective. I gotta say, I think he's in a vacuum. Tom Holland in the suit, he's acrobatic. He's he's good with. He's a good enough Spider-Man, as like a guy, like acting wise. But I think he's been underserved by everything he's been in. So I don't know. I think this next movie could have been a chance to be good because they did the little soft reset.
Yep.
But then they're concerned about the box office of their movies, and now I think they might be heaping a bunch of like
John Bernthal.
Stuff.
Yeah, they got
into
Punisher in there now,
His
yeah.
next movie. I don't even mind the Punisher so much. That tells me it's street level. That's a good sign. But putting it before Doomsday instead of after tells me maybe this has a lot of like setup and stuff in it.
Right.
A lot of like this Fantastic movie leads straight into Doomsday. They're saying.
Right. So you're saying this is going to be this isn't going to be we thought it was going to be a first Tom Holland like
Street level
Tom Holland Spider-Man
villain.
movie.
Yeah.
And now it's just a
Yeah.
Doomsday. No,
It's
and
set up.
I think Mike, you're right.
And I think that's
because
another
you are
disservice
probably
to
right.
Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
I think when the dust settles, unless somehow he gets his own, and I know we're trying to speed up a little bit, so I'll just say this. I think when the dust settles is that we're going to look at a lot of Tom Holland movies that are kind of these pseudo post-Endgame movie, post-Civil War movie, Civil War, this and that. But I think we can all, and like you can't say it now because people will be like, because it's the internet and they'll argue. But I think even if he never gets his true Spider-Man movie, I will look back at this and be like, yeah, like in a vacuum, he was
Top
a
3.
good Peter Parker.
He's such a dickhead.
No. My thing is like we've been blessed where there hasn't been a shitty one. But I'm saying like if you want to rank him ever, but I think like you said, in a vacuum, he is done a lot for like I think he could be a great Peter Parker. But I think like you said, I don't know if we'll ever get to see him do a street level Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
I don't think we ever will.
No.
So, but I liked him. I liked him for what he was.
Yeah.
And I'll give him a salute to that. Eric, go ahead. That's all
I
you, buddy.
think like just thinking about the 10 years and when he came out in Civil War, that was a great showing. I think that was
Loved it.
everyone was on board. I think out of his Spider-Man movies, Homecoming is the best one by far, in my opinion. I think the problem with
God, it's
those
not
two
even close.
movies is it hooked him to Tony Stark, and the writers for Spider-Man have now gotten the opinion that every single movie that Spider-Man needs to be in, he has to have a father figure that he is just attached at the hip to. Like, we did not need, I mean, I guess for the story you did, but you don't need Doctor Strange in this last movie. You don't need, in the movie before
movie
that,
fucking
like,
sucks.
Jake Gyllenhaal. I almost promise you that this next movie, like, it's going to be John Bernthal and him, like, pretty much having, similarly maybe to Jake Gyllenhaal's character, like, they're going to be at odds about the way that they approach fighting crime. And, like, that's already been done in the Daredevil show. I haven't watched it, but, like, regardless, like, that seems to be, like, the Punisher's big thing is other heroes disagree with him. So it's just, to me, I'm like, why can't we just have like to you guys his Spider-Man movie? Like, why
Let
are
the
we?
kid
why
be
are
a
we,
Spider.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, Eric. And we're gonna see it again with him being like, you gonna shoot somebody? No, what? Like it's like, and it's like it's no, and that's why Micah. That's why I'm like saying like, when people are gonna look back and be like, yo, everything Tom Holland did was trash. I'm like, I think he's actually a pretty good Spider-Man, but like you just didn't give the poor kid a chance.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man too.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
also his movies were
not that very good.
Yeah.
First one's okay, and second one not so much. No, I listen, Tom Holland. I would never say something negative about you, but like we all thought at the end of No Way Home, it was like, ooh, we'll get to see this. And now because the Marvel's like, nope, sorry, Doomsday's picking up steam, and now they're like, we're putting the Punisher in there. Like they were like, because you thought, I think when they left No Way Home, they thought we're gonna be able to let a lot of these characters breathe because there's no forward agenda. And then they're like, okay, everything's been failing. Yeah, okay, Tom, get in here. We're gonna pair you with. They hit the
they spun the wheel.
They spun the wheel. Ooh, you almost ended up with She-Hulk, but you ended up with Punisher. Good for you. I think that's gonna sell better.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. They were like, who's the last Marvel character to make $1 billion that's not Deadpool or Wolverine? They were like,
and you know what the
Spider-Man.
And you know what the worst part is that it actually, I think, on paper, like if this wasn't the era we lived in, I could actually see John Barenthal and Tom Holland having fun chemistry. But because this is the era we live in where we're just forcing these characters together, I don't care how funny or not funny they are. I don't want to see this fucking movie, but I will, because I'm a sucker for trends. Like, that's just what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Speaking of this Spider-Man movie,
yeah, right, great segue.
yeah. Let's talk about Tom Holland's better half, much better half. The best half, some would say.
She?
Dude.
Euphoria.
Zendaya right now is on a heater. She is filming Euphoria season 3 currently, or it might have wrapped filming. The Odyssey, Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and Dune 3, back to back to back to back to back. And somewhere in there also Shrek 6 or 5 is in there.
I think that's well. She
can do that in a
definitely did
broom
the
closet.
audio.
Yeah, he could do that.
No,
wherever.
and they also do. You find out with the animated movies, they record the audio for that. Like she probably did that shit a year ago.
Yeah.
Like they get the audio done. She might have gone back, and also like she had to go back and be a day.
Mm-hmm. And regardless, all of those projects, including Shrek, whatever it is, are coming out in 2026. So
that's crazy.
That is a lot.
the year of 2026.
Yeah, that is a lot of Zendaya. Holy
She's making a lot of money. If you want my honest ranking, you got a lot of great projects here. Euphoria season 3. I've been over this before. I'm not gonna go on a tangent. That shit's gonna suck ass. It's gonna be maybe the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why they made it. Hey, Micah.
Horny.
Kidding. This is
Horny.
Whoa. Listen,
No, I just hate-
is it trash-y? It's like shiny trash, and I feel like a raccoon.
It's no,
and I just want to hold it.
I just want to take a whip.
It's like shiny. I'm a raccoon, and it's shiny trash, and I kind
Micah,
of
that's
like
the reason
it.
why I'm getting angry. Is that Euphoria season 1 is not shiny trash. Euphoria season 1 is actually good television.
Yeah.
Euphoria season 2 is somewhere in the middle between shiny trash and good television. I can't really tell. It definitely it walks the line. How was this going to be good?
Well, did you see
cannot-
Did you see the pandemic short film things they were releasing?
No.
I would watch.
Should I have?
Those should give you hope for season 3, maybe if they're going in that
Okay,
direction.
fine. Listen, Zendaya, get that bag though. She's having an absolute bag up year.
Yeah.
Odyssey, dope. Spider-Man: Brand New Day, we don't know, but it's gonna be great. But Dune, that's awesome.
Come on, baby.
She is busy.
Come on, baby.
She's busy. Tom Holland, her thank God he doesn't drink, so he can just
Beero. You don't want to have a nice cold Beero? Tom Holland, please sponsor us. Please sponsor us, Beero. But
all right, cool. Let's do it.
Micah, you want to start us talking about your movie of the week here?
Yeah. So, I chose the 2023 movie Past Lives, directed and written by Celine Song. This was her debut, and it's kind of like a panic pick. So unlike all the other movies, I had seen it before, but it just made such an impact on me. I wanted to pick it again, and it's very autobiographical to her and like very personal to her. So that's interesting to hear and like listen to interviews about how much of her own life she put into this, which explains why her and her husband keep making these like love triangle movies.
Yeah.
Because they lived through the events of this movie. It sounds like, and it's about this woman who her family's immigrating from Korea to Canada, but while she's still in Korea and she's like 12. She has like like you're that age. You kind of got like a boyfriend or something, just someone that you like. You're basically friends, but they like childish romance kind of had that lasting impact, and then they separated. And then 12 years later, she's 24. She's coming out of grad school. She's trying to be a writer in New York, and they reconnect over Facebook, and they start FaceTiming like all the time. One of them staying up late or getting up heinously early because of the time difference. And they're just constantly FaceTiming, almost doing like a long distance relationship. And then she eventually realizes like she's got to live her life here in New York because for a multitude of reasons they're not able to visit each other in person. And she goes to this writer thing. She meets this guy. Cut 12 years in the future, even more. They're 36. Her and this other writer man are married. And Hae-sung, her Korean childhood friend. He's 36. He's out of the military. He's a lawyer. He's working hard. He can finally come to New York. So he kind of comes to visit because he's at an impasse in his life. He was talking about getting married with his girlfriend, and he kind of put that on hold. And I think it's just so he can, give this one last contested into the game buzzer beater full court shot to see if he can get this girl he's been thinking about for 24 years. And the movie kind of plays out from there in this, like, I thought, like, super thrilling third act where I was almost like an action movie on the edge of my seat trying to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's, like, the synopsis without spoiling anything. Because I do think you got to see this movie, I think, like, blind or raw or however you do it.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think about it? Eric?
I guess. Oh, sorry. Okay.
No. If you're good, go for it. I got my note.
No. Please. I've been talking enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time watching this movie. I know it was up for, I think it was screenplay in 2023, and a lot of conversation have been going around this movie, revisiting this movie because the materials was coming out, and I knew the premise of the love triangle going into this movie. I was not prepared at all. I think, Mike, you brought it up for that third act, and for just the roller coaster of emotions going through this to me is like less like it is a movie, but it is just, I think you used the word earlier talking about Celine's song, one of you, just like brutally honest, and like this is a very real movie. It kind of like that central theme of like relationships and like love versus life, like circumstances here took them apart, and it wasn't because it was not because of love that they split up, it was, or lack thereof, it was because of circumstance. And it really like hit home, like some of those scenes felt so real, like that when they were on that whole FaceTiming grind. Like, I think like anyone that's been in any like long distance or any sort of relationship where you're up late on the phone talking to somebody, and kind of that idealistic, like not necessarily maybe honeymoon phase, but about being like, oh, like we should go here together, or we should make these plans together. It's just like such a real and raw thing that everyone's kind of gone through. And then that last scene of them standing together facing each other, like the whole no cuts, her walking, them looking at each other talking, and then nothing to him leaving, just ripped me to shreds. I was on the edge of my seat. Like, you could feel the tension. I don't know if it's sexual, I don't know what it is, but yeah, Brian,
Just tension.
yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah. No. I was pleasantly, and which is why I kind of want to see Materialist, because I guess when I was watching this movie, I was just like, I was ready for the. And I don't want to like. It's easy to be like, oh, the like classic female fantasy, because like men do it too when they write. This is just very like an honest look at these things, and I was waiting for the shoe to drop, where it was going to be like some cheesy ass like drama for drama, but sometimes that's not
Yeah.
how life works.
Yep.
That's not how life always is. And I thought that's what great. So like you said, Eric, at the beginning, right? They do a really good job of showing long distance relationships where like it's great. I'm sure the feelings were there. They're talking about that, and she gets to the point where she's like, when am I gonna see you?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. And they're like, she's like, I can't fucking do this because like we're gonna keep talking about the places we want to go, and I know the feelings are there. But then even when later, when they start like reconnecting, there's this great scene with her husband, the white guy, in his bed, and he's basically asking her, like, being like, she's like, I'm with you. It doesn't matter. He's like, yeah, but like, are you happy with that? Like, I don't want to be like the guy that you just settled into, because it's a real thing that I think anyone in their lives has dealt with, where they like realize like, what if someone from your past came back? And he has a very honest conversation. And again, she kind of does seem she has to do that, and then like. Sometimes that's just the reality of what happens is at the end, and that's why that's. Oh my God, there's so many great scenes in this movie. Like they talk and like, yeah, is it? I think it did a great job. Celine Song did this great job in this movie. Where addressing that like all these things can be true at once. She does love her husband. She does have feelings for this guy. Was it a little weird that he showed up? Is there a little bit of tension there? Yeah, but also like no, she doesn't regret marrying that. I forget the white guy's name. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Andrew.
Arthur.
She
Sorry,
doesn't.
right.
Arthur. She doesn't regret marrying Arthur. Like she does truly love him. And then at the end, when they like hug, like it's like yeah, like all these things could be true. Like her being like, yeah, this was confusing, and I'm upset, and it's hard to think what if. But it's like that's kind of how life goes. You can't think in what ifs.
Yeah.
About this and that. And I think they did a great job of just expressing all the emotion come back if any of us were in. Not this exact situation, but something similar to that. And I was very, very refreshed watching this movie, being like, because like it could have very easily been like the guy, like the Arthur guy getting overly jealous, and then her being like, I was actually meant to be with him, or vice versa, or running away, and or like him, or him being like, it's me or him. You need to choose, and like making it all melodramatic. No, they kept it real. Like it was like. I felt for Arthur. I felt for Hai Sung. Hai Sung. I felt for Nora. I felt for all these people because like these are all real feelings that probably any of us have been through when you're dealing with like different. Yeah, no,
almost universal.
That's why
that was great.
I loved like the through line of like fate or what did they call it? The
Inyan.
Inyan. Yeah,
Inyan.
the Inyan.
Yeah.
I love that through line
The past lives connection.
The whole past lives connection that they wrapped up so nicely at the end. Is that it kind of like so in that bedroom scene, he's like you kind of learned that they did how they had this meet cute at the writers retreat, her and Arthur, Nora and Arthur, and then they moved in together kind of early because they would save on rent, and they got married kind of early so she'd get her green card. And now they've just kind of been living their lives and they're happy enough. But then this guy comes back into their lives and it's like, oh, few different decisions. Are you with him? And then like they have that Indian idea.
Right, Arthur had that very very honest conversation. Right. Like, would you be with me?
Yeah, so they had that like almost like a butterfly effect conversation of like. But then they extend like the past lives. It's like, oh, we're together now because in all these different past and future lifetimes, we're something less or something more. And that's why I love the end. Is it like gives everyone kind of closure. It's like what if this is our past life, and we're already together, and you can kind of like take that. And I was listening to this interview with Celine Song, and Eric, you mentioned that like that last scene that they do all in one shot, when Nora walks Hae Sung to the Uber. They walk right to left, which is like backwards, almost back in time.
Yeah.
And then they have that tense moment. They have closure, and then she has to walk right to left into the future, back to her husband and back home. And then you cut to him at the very end. He's driving, and he's also going right to left, left to right into the future because they all have their kind of resolutions. They're all able to move on now.
Yeah.
So I just love this movie.
Did and a couple things you both hit on. Like it sounds like that bedroom scene kind of spoke to both of us because there's a lot of like central dialogue to the themes going on in that scene, and it's him openly admitting like how boring Arthur is, how boring him and Nora's story is, and he's like it pales in comparison to this grand story
Right,
of
like this love story.
yeah,
that you guys
in
are
some
talking
ways,
about.
like
Yeah.
comparing
That
it
would
to like
break my
kind of
heart,
like
too, if I
the
was your
love
husband.
versus life theme that like gets like that spoke to me really much. Like bringing another movie into like La La Land is just like that's you said it earlier, Brian, but it's something I wrote down and underlined, like a quote that Nora says in that scene is like, "That's not how life works," and that's boom, like flat out, like spelling out like this is a grand
Right.
story of like this guy coming back, but like that's not how life works, and yeah, I mean that whole conversation at the end, obviously with the bar of that very central line of like you saying you're someone who leaves and blah 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 blah, and then he's saying, but for Arthur, you're someone who stays. He inevitably is the one that leaves this go around. Hey Sung, so like that provides him after everything provides him some closure, and finally just like the visual storytelling, like you said, Micah, with the left. I didn't even catch that, but that's like beautiful stuff.
That's a crazy note. I didn't even realize that either, but that makes a lot of sense.
Some other like less more on the nose visual storytelling. Like I thought there was one scene, I wrote it down, where it was after Hae Sung and Nora spend their first day together, and she goes back home and she's like, "Oh, like he came here for me." And it's her and Arthur talking, and then it cuts to Hae Sung, and he goes,
he's immaculate.
Yeah, it cuts to him in his
Which is
hotel room,
massive.
and he goes and sits down in the absolute cuck chair of the century. Like, he just sits down, like, in that corner chair that's in every hotel room. And then later, like, obviously, the second most cuck chair of the century is Arthur at the bar, like, just sitting there. I'm like, this is... And then he paid for the bill, dude. Like... That was
Arthur
great.
is the strongest man in the world.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
Yo,
The strongest man in the world. And
He is a goddamn rock.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's like the first time I watched this, I was like, wow. Like, I mean, he's hiding it, he's fighting it, but he's still like the ability to hide it and fight it speaks to his security.
Right.
Because like he does openly express like, do you find him attractive? You know, do you like her? Are you gonna leave me? Am I the villain in your love
Which
story?
are
All
real
this stuff. Are you happy?
insecurities. They're real
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But he doesn't let it.
Yeah.
And it does culminate in this absolutely simultaneously. Nora and Hae Sung are having like chemistry off the charts, and he's just sitting there. He doesn't even understand what
Oh,
they're
when
saying.
they're
'cause
talking in
speaking
Korean, that was crazy.
And he just, I mean, he knows enough Korean, and I can only imagine a guy like, he's pretty romantic himself. You know, they're laying in bed
a
talking
writer.
about, I want to learn Korean so I can know what you're saying in your dreams, all that stuff. And that also reveals his insecurity about like not having access to that part of her life. And then that physically happens next to him as he watches the human embodiment of what he can't access just riz up his wife.
Yeah.
And it's
luckily-
insane.
I think the other thing this movie does well, but like again, it does put your fears on display, like that, or I say your fears if you're in the exact, but you know what I mean, like fears, insecurities we all have on display. But it also, I think, it does lend itself to showing, even with some slips and stuff, with Hae Sung, Nora, and Arthur, all of them being more mature people with things, because I think the biggest thing that like even Hae Sung realizes and Nora realizes and Arthur realizes, even when Nora might have been questioning if, you know, oh my god, my feelings for Hae Sung being like so excited to see this girl again, Arthur being insecure about the fact that this dude just showed up, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Is that I feel like Celine Song, when she wrote this, realizes what a lot of people realize when you start dating someone for a long time, is that you can't get caught up in like there are young people who probably get caught up in like but that love was so raw. It's like, no, but you know what it takes to make a relationship? How long have they been married? Like a decade?
Yeah.
Or 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
What that means something. And I think that's the biggest thing this movie kind of addresses. Like, this isn't like Hae Sung showing up and she'd be like, this is my boyfriend. And them like, you know, realizing they're not right for each other. No, what what Nora and Arthur built is real. Mm-hmm. You don't see 10+ year marriages. Those don't just happen without work and love. And that's the thing that I think this movie goes past, because it could have easily been Hae Sung shows up to New York. Nora's like, oh, this is my boyfriend Trent. We've been dating for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, like it's a classic
Trent
you
would
shouldn't be with him. It'd be like, what do you know about that? And then they butt heads. No, this was more like, what happens if someone from your past who maybe would have been the one who stole you away shows up where you actually have a loving, and strong relationship built with somebody, a marriage, 10 years. Are you kidding me? And I think they handled it really well. Like where they're like, they show he's like, yeah, sure. The guy was like, Arthur was like, this is weird for me, and Nora was like, this is freaking me out. She cried at the end.
It was traumatizing.
But at the end of the day, they ultimately realized like, this isn't like we're not going to throw it away to try something new with Hai Sung. No, we built something here.
She even says like, not even necessarily staying for Arthur. Like when he straight up asked her, "Are you going to leave me?" She was like, "I wouldn't abandon my writing work. I wouldn't abandon rehearsals for a man." And it's not even it's like about the life entirely. Like there's a through line of like her ambitious goals and all that stuff. Like it's not even necessarily just Arthur.
Yeah.
She's like, "No, I've got rehearsals in the morning. I can't, fly to Seoul to be with Hae Sung."
Crazy though.
Yeah. It was a great pick, Micah.
That was a devastating. I was curious about it going in. I was like, what am I going to see here? I didn't really know about Celine Song's writing, but it was a refreshingly honest look at relationships, because it could have very easily been like wait, Nora, like I hit the lights and you while she's running through the streets, be like, no, like it could have very easily been the world's worst rom-com where like he comes back and been like, I never should have hung up that FaceTime. And then like Arthur's like, go to him. No, you know what I mean? Like it could have been a million. It could have been a million, or the opposite. Arthur's a douchebag. Yeah. It could have been a million other shitty rom-coms or dramas, and it was a very real look at like what if you were married for 10 years and your wife, it's like long term, like imagine me like, that's the most romantic story I've ever heard in my life. Are you sure you're happy with me? Like, he had a genuine moment about that. Like, right? Like, yeah.
Scariest pillow talk of all time, dude.
Holy fuck. Yo, shout out to Arthur, bro.
Nah, he's a real one.
I would have been...
Strongest man.
I would have gotten drunk. I would have gotten so drunk that night at the bar. I've been another one.
Yeah. Would you go or would you not go? Because I was like thinking about this.
You have to go.
Oh, you have to
go, man.
Because okay, you would sit in that chair for. Well, mind you, his flight is in the morning. They're there till like 4 a.m. They're like killing time for his like 6 a.m. red eye. Like you're there for hours as they stare into each other's eyes lovingly. Like they're like alternating, tearing up. Every now and then your wife comes back. She's like, he's talking about you. And then like they go back to talking for hours in Korean. Like I would.
Micah, there are a lot of guys who would be like, you can't see him.
There'd
be a lot of dudes who'd be like,
I don't.
So if you don't want to be that guy, you have to go.
I think
at the very least, you'd be like, okay, if it's just, I'd have to go.
No, you have to.
I would sit there and get drunk, probably drunker than I'd be proud of. I'd go.
I don't know. I would have to find some sort of like metaphorical hole. I don't even think a movie would do it. I'm phone off movie theater. I would need to be somewhere where I have no thoughts in my head. I would need to do like
I'd hire.
I'm taking 8 sleeping pills and waking up the next morning and hoping she's next to me, dog. I don't know.
Mike, I'd hire another Korean guy. I'd be like, you tell me everything he said. Direct line. They'd be like, who's this? This is my boy. Don't worry about him. I'd be even feed me lines. Be like, yeah, they're talking about. He
said in a past life they've been married.
Right
Yep.
I'm open. As soon as I hear them mention In Young, I'm tweaking out because I'm like,
What did she say? She said they would be like the bird and the branch that the bird sits on. I was like, dude,
I have no idea.
What are we talking?
It's something ridiculous.
I mean, she said herself that they only bring up Indian when they're trying to rizz up another Korean, and she used it to rizz up her husband. And then she brings it up again with Hae Sung at the bar. I was like, he knows Korean a little bit. Arthur knows a little bit of Korean.
Yeah,
he would know that phrase because that's how he met his wife. Like, you would hear that in conversation. I'd be like, what's going on? I'm pulling the fire alarm. I'm pulling the fire alarm.
Upsetting.
I'm calling somebody. I'm like, get him out of here. You don't got his papers. Get him out.
I'm not going to make it.
Bartender, put something in this drink. I don't care what it is.
I'm not going to make an ice joke, man.
No, that's too far.
Yeah, not in this.
Not in this forum.
But yeah, I'm doing something. I'm going Tanya Harding. I don't know.
Holy shit.
When he pulls up and he's like, he's like, is he handsome? Like, are you attracted to him? He pulls up and he's like, it's me. And it's like,
Yeah,
he was
I'd be like, no,
oh,
out
no.
of here. Here.
He'd be like, get him out, get him out, ref, do something.
As soon as he was tall, as soon as I saw he was taller than me, he's a writer. Arthur's a writer too, and he made more money than me. I'd be like, get out of here.
Get out of here.
I'll call a bomb threat into your flight. I'll redirect your shit to Pyongyang, bitch. See how you like that shit.
I'm drawing an N
go
in
back
front of
to
the
Seoul.
over the S. I'm scratching out the S and writing N. Send him to North Korea. All right, he ain't
That's
never
what I
coming
said.
back.
I did the Pyongyang. I said Pyongyang. I said Pyongyang instead of Seoul.
He's talking about like, come visit me. He's like, no, the fuck we won't.
He's
We
like,
will
oh,
not be visiting.
Yeah, sure.
He's like, Arthur, you come visit me in Korea. Yo,
Yo.
Hai Sung, we're never gonna see your ass again.
I'm like,
Never.
launch the
Never.
nukes. Aim them at Seoul. Launch the
Do
nukes.
the accent.
Who did the accent?
You did the accent.
Oh, is that strike one? He almost made it the whole
I
pod.
didn't do an accent.
He almost made it the
I didn't
whole
do an
pod.
accent.
We gotta get
Oh
the
my
footage
God.
back.
Wait.
All right.
No. Run that shit back. I did not do an accent.
I thought I could. I heard Arthur. I was
the
like,
screen.
I was like, hold on.
No, I didn't do an accent. I swear.
That might
if
be
I
strike
did,
one,
I'm sorry.
Brian. We'll see.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. You guys liked it?
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah, I
glad,
was a
I'm
big
glad
fan.
you had us watch it because it's been on my watch list for a while. It really.
All right. So let's get on to our second movie of the week. Brian, give
Holy
us a
shit.
synopsis.
All right, this one, you know what's crazy is that we talked about Past Lives way longer than I thought we would. This is going to be, all right, let's just get into it. So my next one was 28 Years Later, which is a sequel to 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. Second movie that they kind of referenced, but is kind of retconned, 28 Weeks Later. It's a rage virus. It's a zombie apocalypse. It's kind of like the first one. People forget. This movie inspired all the others. It's essentially now like a movie that focuses more on the humanity that goes around with the zombie virus. But essentially, we're living in the UK, where this virus has basically ravaged the land for almost 3 decades now. And we kind of circle in on a young boy who lives in this community off the coast. They've been isolated from it. They've managed to kind of make shit happen here. It's divided by a causeway that the tide comes up and down. And that's essentially where we come in on the story. It starts off pretty, pretty like father-son lone survival story. They go in to do like a thing. They have this whole chase sequence that gets them back there. Ultimately transforms into a more mother-son story where he brings his mom to see this supposed mysterious doctor on the mainland. They find out a lot more about the virus, how it's evolved, how humanity's evolved. You've learned a little bit about this and that, and then it ends in a way that's interesting and we'll get into. I guess my thing I want to say right now is I fucking love this movie. I love this movie so much. It might be my favorite movie I've seen in the last year.
Ooh.
I don't understand how people hate it. Micah, Eric, I've talked kind of both of you. I've seen your reviews. I think everything, if you're like in the 7 out of 10 category on this movie, I get that because it's a little weird. It's a little weird. I'll admit that. But I watched this movie and I just cannot understand how people didn't like this movie. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I felt like I was on drugs. This was awesome. I fucking loved everything about it. I actually can't name a negative about it except maybe the ending. And I would say the editing was jarring, but I like that Danny Boyle style of editing. I like it. I thought it was zany. Holy fuck, what a movie. I think if you thought that this movie was like okay and I have some mixed opinions, that's fine. But if you say that movie's weird, you're fucking stupid and grow up.
See,
There,
Brad,
I said
last episode when I said you're opinionated, this is what I'm talking about.
Well, I think we all
No,
should be.
this movie-
opinionated.
this movie is one, Mike, I agree. Like, I know I should probably sit back and be like, this is one where, like, I haven't felt a movie like this in a while. Because, like, with Sinners or other movies I've liked a lot, usually the general consensus is, like, also people like it. This is one that I love so much, and I'm coming out and seeing people be like, that was a 1 out of 5. Fucking stupid. Why wouldn't they just kill Samson when he was I'm like, I want to actually strangle people through the phone. I love this movie. I digress. There's the end of my point. Because I realized I could talk about this for fucking an hour. Because I loved this movie. 28 years later, somebody else talk. Please. Good God.
How does anyone follow that up?
What did you like? What things?
Ryan, you're starting
Eric.
again.
Fine, Eric.
No,
Eric,
I'll hop in.
you and I talked briefly on the phone.
Yeah.
Eric, talk about what you like. Talk about what you didn't like,
Talk,
please.
talk about what you like. Don't talk about what you disliked. Go.
You guys don't hate this movie though.
No,
You're not my enemies.
No.
In this game.
I really, really enjoyed this movie. Going into it, you heard good things. I'm trying to think of what to say, Brian. You covered a lot of it. I'll talk about the. I'll talk about
critique this. You can critique this movie. I want that clear. I'm talking about the people who hate it.
Yeah.
This movie.
Let me get into the thing. The first thing I
I
really liked, cinematography. Like this was shot on iPhones, steroided up iPhones. But if you see the rigs that they use to shoot this movie, it blows your mind. Like the way that you're able to put out a movie that's gonna gross over $100 million plus, maybe 200 plus, probably. Yeah. With iPhones. And you were talking about some of the cinematography. Those bows with the zombie kill cams, sick. Every time one popped up, I was gassed up. Yeah.
Is it bullet time?
Yeah, the
I
bullet
think they
time
called
thing.
the poor man's bullet time.
Yeah, and the way they recorded that was with a whole rig of phones around it that would just do like basically a 360. So sick. It was so. In my review I said all over the place because that first act is like kind of what I expected the entire movie to be like. And then you get into this emotional story about a family and a father and son, a mother and son, and you're also throwing in like the outside world or like some comedy in there. Then you're also opening up a whole storyline about what are the zombies people? Like, how do we treat this with like the pregnancy and birth scene, which is surely going to be followed up. And then Ray Fiennes' obviously performance in the last act, talking about leading you through like life and death and the significance of it all in relation to love. And it's just like they fit so much into an hour 45-minute movie that I'm like shocked.
No, the under 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
It was an under 2 hour movie, which is kind of crazy when you stand back and think about
I just went on a whole journey, and you know, it's something that it really spoke to me. I want to watch it again, if not for anything. Like there was a lot I liked. That scene when they're running from Samson across the causeway. I was sitting next to David, and you know David. He's like, Herbie. It's like watching him when we played Outlast with Mike. He's like, move, Michael, Michael, go! Yeah. Like he was like, move,
Michael.
Yeah, he's shaking, and I was like, my heart was going because I just like the way you see this guy, impeccable form in his running, but the way he's moving, oh man. But I have a lot of good things to say. We'll talk about the ending, I'm sure. But Micah, you go through.
Yeah,
go
that'll come.
Yeah, I didn't dislike it. I did like. I mean, especially the way it looked. I liked the editing style. The working in old film clips and like war footage in between when they do the boot segment with the poem.
Boots.
I liked that a lot. I did like the inventive, like the way they shoot the arrows, and then you get like the jarring two cut, very like video game style. I liked that a lot.
Right.
Like I guess they had to like progress somewhere, but like I might stop doing these rewatches because like I watched 28 Days and 28 Weeks, and those are very urban. The hard turns in storytelling, that is like a little bit of a through line where you think the story's gonna go one way. And they're like, oh, actually, it's not that, it's this, and it's not that either. It's actually this. I was. That's not like crazy at all for the series. So I was not as thrown by that either. I think the ending I liked. Let Ray Fiennes speak in Latin. I'm there. I'm loving it. I thought it feels very much like they're making 3 of these that are all like sequential, they're all like 28 years. So
like I think Alfie, that kid Spike or whatever, which was great by the way.
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
I think it feels like kind of incomplete, and I thought maybe like the end where like a certain character dies, that felt very abrupt to me, and I almost missed that. I like pretty much missed out on the emotion of it because it just happened, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, which is funny to say in a zombie movie where people die abruptly all the time. But this didn't, So I don't know why that confused me so bad.
I guess. Sorry, no. I guess I've calmed down a little bit. I want that on record. Because like obviously movies are subjective at the end of the day. Like you can break it down. I guess the reason why I was getting so gung ho about this is that because I loved it, and even when I would try to be like, okay, here's things I can see why people didn't like about it.
Sure.
Like you said, Micah, like some of things felt like quick. Things felt out of the blue. The ending, while I am all on board for what they're gonna go for, yeah, it was a little bit jarring. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I could see how somehow like some of the editing would be like a little bit, deceiving, but like I'm seeing people look at movies, and someone was talking about this, and because I don't know if you looked at the internet right now, it's been at war about this movie, because like people like that's the thing. It would be different. It was like I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5, and someone giving it a 5 out of 5. I'm not going to argue with that. It's more about people are like either like 5 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, or they're like I give it a 1 out of 5. That's the worst piece of shit I've seen in my life. And I'm like, I feel like people look at movies too literally. People look at movies like they don't like things being weird. They don't get what like we've seen the movie that the first half of the movie was before. We've seen the run and gun zombie movie, and I liked it. But like this is Alex Garland and Danny Boyle. If you thought for 1 second this was going to be a father and son story, being like, oh, we got to get out of the fucking cottage. There's an alpha out there. No, it's gonna be more. It's Alex Garland and Danny fucking Boyle. These are weird fucking dudes, and then people were shocked. That's why I got mad, because everyone was like, "This movie was weirder than I thought it'd be." I was like, "Really? Two of the weirdest people on earth combined to make a zombie movie, and you didn't think it was gonna be weird?" And the trailer, it keeps going, "How will humanity evolve?" No one knew what was going on. I don't know. That's what made me annoyed. Like I just didn't understand how like you could not. How could you give this movie a 1 out of 5 simply from watching like just the first hour and 10 minutes? Right? Like you're gonna like was that not a thrill ride enough for you that you couldn't just I don't know. I just got mad at people. So I got all worked up. I got all cranked
It
up
happens,
about this
man.
movie.
Don't beat yourself
I don't know.
up.
I do feel like maybe this is like American audiences. There's like big themes of like isolationism when they're on that island. And they're very traditional.
People hated that.
They're like the opening is like a boy's rite of passage with his father. It's very traditional.
Right.
You see the women are staying inside, making up the party. Those kind of themes. And I know like a lot of Brexit is in this, and like that's something I don't know a whole lot about. Even at the very end, apparently that's a Jimmy Savile reference.
Jimmy Savile.
Yeah,
I didn't get that initially, but I looked it up later.
Look it up.
Yeah.
At the time in the movie universe when the Jimmy character would have known him, he was still like if you were 5 or like 8, like I was, and you were watching the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
you were like, "Oh, Bill Cosby's great." If the world ended when I was 8, and I became an adult, I would have no ill will towards the Cosby Show if I found
Kelly was bigger.
I would love
Kelly
it.
was bigger than that.
I would probably wear weird sweaters and talk about pudding. But like he was probably bigger than that, and he was like a vicious pedophile. So like, is it a reference and like foreshadowing because they did this meet up with a child, or is it more like a loss of innocence kind of thing? Because I mean,
Jimmy, Eric, I want to let you chime in on this, but I just want to say Alex Garland has said the whole thing, and I say not like me breaking down something new. It's literally in the trailers. The whole thing with this whole movie is how will humanity evolve?
Right.
So you have Jimmy's character. This is a kid who never grew up. This is a kid who literally had no his development has been the zombie apocalypse.
Stunted,
you have someone like Spike who has turned his head on like being like okay, like finding solace with his mother and like going back to like when she's talking about what the fond memories before that. Then you have this old society, the old one that like we've regressed into this patriarchal. That's what it's all about. Like it's a very like because he made the movie Men before. I think he's really like harping on these like harmful ways men can evolve. And again, I'm not going to pretend to know everything. I haven't seen the second movie either.
Right.
I'm just saying that like I think people forgot that like they're like, wait, what do you mean this isn't just a normal zombie movie? I'm like, yeah, it's Alex Garland. He's going to be talking about like how evil is man? Because he's the one who thought of that shit first. People forget there would be no Walking Dead. There would be no Last of Us if there wasn't 28 Days Later.
Right.
I think people forget that.
Well,
Go ahead, Jimmy.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think your point is spot on with obviously like the study of man and if they're evil, right, and how they're gonna progress in an evil world that they're thrust into. And it's interesting the direction that Garland and Boyle take. And I'm basing this take off of like a tweet I saw where, like, once you kind of he goes out into the world. This is Spike and his father, Jamie, which, I mean, I don't know if I was just dense or dumb, but like when they have that little intro scene and they're calling the kid Jimmy, I think it's on purpose that they put Jamie and Jimmy's names somewhat close together because I was a little like, oh,
I agree.
I kind of forgot about the character of Jimmy.
Too.
I was like, oh, maybe that is Jamie, and I just misunderstood their Scottish accents. But you know, they go out in the world, obviously very uncomfortable place to be, like a dangerous world. They come back, he's not comfortable because of what he sees. The party he's seeing is like unbearably uncomfortable. It's like almost like cultish in a way, and then he has to get out of there to save his mom. I think it's on purpose that they make, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, I know it's the second title of the second movie, but the Bone Temple that Ralph Fiennes is living at, like the most comfortable place, like safe haven in the movie. Even though, like, this, when you're watching the trailer, we're going in, you're assuming that this is going to be some fucked up world. And that's how you assume Ralph Fiennes' character is. And when you meet him, he's just the subversion of that. And it's the study. He's doing something that in a society today would be like, you need to be, like, skinned alive and thrown into the deepest hole possible. But, like, he's doing it as a way to, as a testament to love and in a fucked up world. And it's, you know, the act, it was so moving to me to see this child with the skull, like, it being such a heartfelt moment. I'm like, when you're looking at it from a literal standpoint, and you're like, this is disturbing, but this is also, like, beautiful in a way. And it worked.
Wow.
It worked.
Absolutely.
For me. But like, to your point, Brian, there are people who eat glue and are like, what is going on? Like,
It's just, that's the biggest thing for me, and I don't want to hijack. It's just like I just don't understand how you could look at this movie. If you want to look at this movie, like, Mike, I feel like you're someone I can see looking at this and be like, listen, I enjoyed it, but it's a little weird. There's some things I want to unpack. Maybe a rewatch could do that, but I don't know how you could look at this movie and say dumb, boring, or stupid. Those are my three things, I guess, is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like having a hard time, like, or like, I say a hard time, like, as if I'm like somehow enlightened. I meant more like I just loved it. But like, you like being like, no, I'm just saying, like, more like, you know what I mean? Like, if you watch this movie and you're not like me, like being like 5 stars, you're like, I liked it, but there's some weird shit. I need to unpack this and that, whatever. That's fine. But I just feel like there's people coming out the rip looking at this, and I feel like all three of us can agree on this much at least, to be like, this movie wasn't dumb, boring, or stupid. And I say dumb and stupid being different because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know why. I don't know. People are, like, getting angry about weird things in this movie. Like, I saw a guy go on a 3-minute rant about the fact that you're telling me that the world never figured out how to cure the rage virus. It's still in England. I'm like, yo, like, what are you fucking Anywho, Micah, please talk.
No, I mean, you know, like, the cinema sins and its consequences.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. I really filtered that out because that's not how you really
watch
should
Right,
engage
that's how you
with
watch a
any
movie.
movie. If the movie has a premise and you start attacking that, I mean, where do you have left? I don't know. What do you mean Arthur and her are married? What if he's gay? It's like, then you don't have a movie. So
Right.
shut up and just watch the movie you have. I don't know. Yeah, but also I don't want to like attack. I don't know. I think we're on different sides because I'm getting ads for Fantastic Four and you're fighting
It's true.
battles.
I'm fighting battles on the internet, and you're out here just seeing. Yeah, I'm just getting mad. I'm just getting mad about people like I'm seeing takes about this movie. I told Eric about this because Eric and I talked on the phone briefly because I was about to go for my run, and I saw someone who was getting mad on TikTok saying, "So let me get something straight. Ralph Fiennes' character gets him with a tranquilizer, Samson, and then they just don't kill him? What the fuck?" I'm like, did you watch the same fucking movie I did? That's the whole point of his character. You know what I mean? It's shit like that where I'm like, it'd be different if you're like, I just didn't think it was that good. Versus like, you're getting harped up. Like, about things that don't make any sense. Like, you know what I mean? Or like someone's like, the pregnancy one, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think the pregnancy thing was weird. I don't know what they're going to go with that. Maybe the baby is like a carrier, like they did in 28 Weeks Later. I said in my review, I was like, I have 1,000 questions. They definitely introduce a lot of stuff. Like you said, it's kind of incomplete. Right. They introduce a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed. But, like, I cannot sit here and pretend that I didn't have a blast watching that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not very intrigued to see what's going to happen next. And I don't know how you could watch that movie and walk and be like, I'm truly convinced that people went into that theater never seeing the first two. Or knowing nothing about it. Like, I really, because they thought the don't trailer was cool.
Yeah.
They thought that was cool and they went to go see it. I'm really convinced that's what's happening. And the zombie genre has been morphed into something crazy, and people forget that it started with this. There it is. I'm done.
No, I mean, I think I'm on board for a full trilogy. I want to see it happen. Obviously, they filmed the second one, but like the third one.
Nia DaCosta. I didn't know Nia DaCosta shot it, which is weird. They shot it back to back.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier. But like,
maybe
Killian was already. I thought Killian was already like linked to the second and third one, so I don't know if he's in the second one.
He's been on set. They haven't made the third one. He might be in the third. But my thing is like, I was about to be like, I'm worried about like, ooh, Danny Boyle, because I love Danny Boyle, isn't directing the second one. But like, I'm guessing Nia DaCosta must have been on set.
Yeah.
For both the shooting, you know what I mean? Like, there must have been like a very handoff of the iPhone.
I think she shot that last piece probably because it felt very different. It looked a little different.
It did.
I think that's probably the beginning of hers. You know. And
also, it is still Alex Garland's script. Like
it'll
it's
be
not like Nia DaCosta picking up the mantle 2 years later.
No.
And also she's a capable director. Well, I liked Candyman.
And we're going to find out pretty quick here. I mean, we've been texting about it, but, like, this movie does come out, I think you pointed out, Mike,
28 weeks?
27 weeks from now, or reportedly is when the next one's coming out in January of 2026, which is an interesting time always for horror movies.
Yeah, we're going to see how that goes.
But if that's already greenlit, then, hey, and this movie's making money, greenlit the third one, get Killian in there, let's go.
So yeah, that's my last thing because I know we want to move on to the next thing. Like the fact that this movie was 70, what'd you say, 75 mil?
60.
Someone said
60,
that.
and I think it's already made 75.
Look at how great that movie. Like, look what you can make with that. With a pretty good cast too. You know, you got Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Ralph Fiennes. Like, I think this is a good. Like we always talk about, like good movies get made.
Yeah.
This is something I'd support million movies being made, looking like this. With that kind of cast for this kind of budget.
Yeah.
And I'll end it with that, and we can move on.
Yeah. Another definitely interesting, thought-provoking, good movie of the week.
Hell yeah. And we gotta move to the next one.
All right. So, Eric, break us down.
Into the next movie of next week, or the top 10?
Do that,
and then
both.
the top 10. Okay,
Both.
So, I think you guys have chosen two great movies last week. We talked about this movie a lot already this week, but I'm choosing F1. Mike and I already have tickets, but I'm gassed up.
No, I'm in.
Maybe thought provoking. Maybe it'll be some smooth brain watching, but I'm all in. So
hey man, it'll definitely follow the formula.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and our ears are probably gonna fall off. So
I'm so excited.
I was seeing people's like Apple Watches and phones were giving them like the ear damage warning.
Yep.
I might bring my concert headphones.
That's awesome. I hear that.
This is Hanging Out Solo with Slim Jim. You are live with me for the next 30 seconds while I review my ballot. Oh, man. I'm curious how much crossover there's going to be in here. We have been yapping a lot tonight, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of yapping. It is almost 10 p.m. and I still haven't eaten dinner. I'm running out of steam, guys. It's tough. Brian's over here screaming. It's a lot. Yep, so game for this week, we're going to run through it pretty quick, but for anyone listening, you're seeing it on your timeline right now, but I'm seeing a lot of these New York Times top 10 of the 21st century post where people are posting ballots of their top 10 movies released since the year 2000, 2001. So obviously this movie podcast I brought up with the fellas. We want to go through and just give a list. The difference between us and everyone else is we're ranking them 10 to 1. So we're going to get to know a lot about each other.
That made it so much harder.
Yeah, it did make it hard. But we're going to know a lot about each other. We're going to see where there's some crossover, where there's some differences, and we can yell at each other a little bit. But we'll try and keep it pretty brief. People can give a little spiel about each movie. There'll probably be some crossover. Maybe not. But anybody feeling mucho mangoed up to go first?
Okay, yeah. I mean, oh, sorry, Eric. Micah, you go.
No,
please.
Brian, go. Please go. Go, Brian. Go, Gadget Brian.
So I had a few. I'm actually just gonna bang these out real quick. Just my honor. Like I had some ones: Casino Royale, La La Land, Mad Max Fury Road, and Superbad. Cringe. But I did not put the list. I put in my number 10, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Wes Anderson. I wanted a Wes Anderson movie on this list. I think this movie is a embodiment of animation being a medium of art, not just a genre for kids that Guillermo del Toro has talked about when he did Pinocchio. This is a movie that I will rewatch a million times. I think it's great. There's a lot of Wes Anderson movies. Maybe you have one on your list, but this is one I put as my number 10, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Wes Anderson.
That's good.
Nice.
That was actually in my honorable mentions. Fantastic Mr. Fox,
There
along
it is,
with
See, did you
along with Casino Royale, and I don't know. There wasn't something else that I put in there, but
I said La La Land, Mad Max, Fury Road, and Superbad were in my honorable mentions.
Superbad also. That's a great shout. That one's also in.
That was Fringe.
That one's right there. I'll go to my number 10 movie. Best superhero movie that's come out since the year 2000. Best thing I think Disney's put out. I'm putting The Incredibles down as my number 10.
Ooh, good one.
I wanted a Disney movie and I wanted a Pixar movie. I thought about putting in Finding Nemo, but I just thought about it. And this movie is something we still quote to this day. Great underlying themes. It's for everybody. It hits different when you're a kid. It hits different when you're an adult now. So, The Incredibles. Micah.
That's great.
Great
Love
choice,
it.
Eric. I find it interesting we all chose animated movies or semi like claymated.
That's kind of funny. Yeah.
My movie is 2003's Finding Nemo, directed by Andrew Stanton. That's the movie that made me like fall in love with movies. I had this big like DVD set that had like all the behind the scenes stuff, and I was just like blown away by all the work they did. Because like 3D animation came in with Toy Story, but no one had done one underwater, so they had to come up with like an unbelievable amount of stuff just to make you believe that the fish were floating and water was moving. And I was just blown away by the effort. It's a great father-son story. I was scared to death of the barracuda. I mean, it's funny without like being like dumb. I mean, like it's full of like film references. You know, it's just a good movie. Solid watch. Love it. All right, Brian. 9?
Okay, number 9. I had the a movie that City of God, one of the first foreign films I ever watched in my life, which puts it in perspective. Directed by Fernando Meirelles. I don't want to mispronounce his name. This is once a Brazilian film. I remember seeing it when I first got an IMDb account. I saw it was in like the top like movies, and I was like, I watched it in middle school, and this was like my first exposure to like a foreign film, and it blew me away. And I remember watching this. Like, we've watched this again since we've been drunk watching it. It is an absolute roller coaster of a watch. Highly recommend. It was one of those ones that I made my list and then looked back and saw this movie and I was like, nah, that's got to go on there. And I put it on there. So yeah, City of God, I put it at 9.
Like
Bang.
middle school watching that.
Yeah, that's heavy. For
Yeah,
me.
it was. Listen, hey, it happened.
Unsupervised internet access.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
My number 9. In a generation, I feel like now we're in a unique spot in Hollywood where the phrase legacy sequel has come about, and in that generation of all those, I put my favorite one, Ryan Coogler's Creed from 2015. I put it as like our generation's Rocky because it is kind of the same story. But it's something where I watched that movie recently and I was blown away again. I love every performance. I love the script. I just think it, when you talk about the phrase legacy sequel, which will continue to happen for the rest of our lives, up there with, it's close to Top Gun Maverick. That was also one of my fringe movies. But to me, there's nothing that can kind of like beat this story, which is a timeless story. It's done again. To me, it's our Rocky, but I loved it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. So I've got. I wanted to like make sure I got like kind of all the genres, or maybe just try and get
Yeah, for a little bit of variety. Yeah, I get it.
So I went with Mission Impossible Fallout, the 2018 Christopher
That's
McQuarrie
great.
movie.
Good choice.
I think it's a very like textbook, like modern action story. Very practical, looks great, has a good story. It is like, it's like kind of like where we're at. It's like a franchise led by a movie star, sharply directed. Action's fantastic. So I think it's kind of like the perfect modern action movie. At least like coming out of America. So that's why it's number 9. I think that's a good blueprint. Everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm up. We're at number 8.
Yep. Going into 8.
Number 8. So I had a couple of shufflings going on. There were ones because I didn't want to have like too much Nolan. There were things that kept going around. At my 8, I ended up landing on. I went with Inception, Christopher Nolan. I'll go into other choices later. This is one where I think it's just one of those ones. It's one of the first ones he ever got nominated for Best Picture. It's one of those ones that people actually work into the vocabulary now. Like people talk about like, oh, it's Inception. People talk about like it's now become like a dream vocabulary when people talk about fucking with other people's dreams, even when it's not even right. I think it had to be in there, and I went with Inception, Christopher Nolan, and I feel like there's a lot of different Nolan ones. We'll all hear each other's lists. Different directors you could plug and play with some of these movies, but you don't want to bog your list down with too many of someone. I think that's just, you know what I mean. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. So that was my list. That was my pick.
Like that. I like it a lot. My pick at number 8. I had to pick one from this franchise, and I had a really hard time deciding which one, but I went with the one that still will get me every time I toss it on after watch the rest. It's the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I feel like that's a little hot take because a lot of people love Return of the King, which I do too. To me, they're all like almost 5-star movies. This is one where the minute I hear what's her name's voice come on to do the prologue,
Galadriel.
I just have to watch the whole movie, and I think it hits on. I mean, the score in that movie. It's just in a generation where they're trying to start so many franchises. This is the movie that, like, between the score, the story, the characters, adapting so much source material, put it into a concise opening movie that made everyone want to be like, I need to see what happens next. Love it. Over to you, Micah.
Speaking of launching a franchise that had the world captivated, really groundbreaking and pioneering in a way maybe only James Cameron could do. I've got 2009's Avatar.
There it is.
Hey,
it's like he had this story forever. He could finally had the technology to do it. I mean, look where we are now. Like 2 movies out, over almost $5 billion made. I mean, you had
That's
people.
crazy.
They were naming an illness like Pandora sickness, where people just wanted to live in that world because they just kept, it was such captivating. I mean, it's one of the all-time theatrical experiences. The second one as well, but I just did one. Avatar. It's super basic story, and it's just all about the technicals. And Zoe Saldana is great. She's a real standout in this. Yes, my number 8.
That's awesome.
Love that.
It's funny. I'm sure once we get a little farther, there's going to be overlap, and I don't want to spoil if there's been any overlap so far. But my next one is going to be definitely a shakeup. I have number 7, Wind River, Taylor Sheridan, written and directed by. It's the third in his Frontier trilogy, the only one he actually directed. And I know people are going to be like, oh, because Sicario's better. No. This movie, I think every person in America should watch at some point in their life. Everyone who has been like that actually was, I don't want to say life changing, but it actually is like a very sobering. Like, it's a real look at what's been going on in these Indian reservations that we don't fucking talk about ever. Great performances from Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner, who's not usually an actor. I front run like that, but It's fantastic, and it was one of those ones that came in late when I was making this list. Where I'm like, no, that's a movie that like I will always recommend every time. So I have Wind River
Yeah.
by Taylor
I
Sheridan.
heard there's an app you can talk about Renner's performance in that movie on. Oh man, that's a good pick. Brian. I'm waiting patiently for Smile 2 on this list. I know it's coming, but I'm curious how high you're gonna put it up.
Wow.
It was on my 2024, and when we do our top 2025 for a year, you'll see some crazy picks. This is for a century, or at least a quarter of one. So I had to be a little more selective.
Yeah. All right. What are we on, 7? My number 7 pick.
You're 7.
This is a movie I think we all watched together. To me, one of my first exposures to foreign film. I feel like I got into film, and I'll get into it later, but pretty late compared to you guys. It's 2019's Parasite. This is just, out of all the movies in here, like, it made me like question, obviously, like social classes, the system, everything, like, and it has maybe one of the scariest scenes in a movie I've ever seen. Like that hole with the eyes,
God.
is something that still haunts me to this day. But like jarring, but it's also just like a story I don't know how you can even comprehend to create. You can talk about everything, performance, but the screenplay itself is just the most unique thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
One of the more unique things I've ever read, and
You read it?
No. Well, like, yeah, fucking dickhead. But it'll stick with me. It's a movie I think when we watched it, we were definitely thrown for a loop. But over to you, Micah.
All right, so at number 7, I've got Spike Lee's 2020 movie, Da 5 Bloods. I love this movie.
It's a good one. Good one.
Came out at a weird time. Netflix has it. It's not out on DVD or anything, but I think this was like Chadwick's last, filming performance that he filmed. He plays So the story's about like a bunch of Vietnam vets go back for some treasure that they found during the war that they buried, and the whole time they're reckoning with the actions of Americans in Vietnam. Both like emotionally in this like still war scarred country, and then like physically because there's like mines everywhere. There's some other elements that go on, and it affects their past generations because some of them brought their sons with them. The whole time they're seeing like these memories of like their old captain that died, which was Chadwick. I just thought it was really good, and Delroy Lindo, who we saw in Sinners most recently. I thought this was going to be his Oscar. One hell of a performance.
And I thought so too. I remember when I saw that movie, I thought he was going to get the at least a nod for that one. No, he was great. Prime. He was great.
Yeah. So this one that's like sticks with me forever.
Yeah.
Hey, it's your top 10 of the century, my brother. You can do whatever you want.
You're damn right.
I can put Trolls too if I want.
That's
I won't.
Damn wrong.
So now we're at my number 6.
Yeah, 7. Oh yeah, 6. Oh my god.
I'm at 6. So funny you mentioned, Eric. I had Parasite in this slot. I subbed it out for the shuffling, and I forgot to put in my honorable mentions. But in my number 6, I have Dune Part 2.
Ooh.
I think for me, it's one of those ones where I put it here, and you'll see when we get further in the list. I put it here because obviously it's amazing, but I think as we move forward through life, this is going to be like the Empire Strikes Back of this era, where we all loved it when it came out, but I think your kids are going to be the ones being like, you saw Dune in theaters, dude. This is going to be that movie. I think that. I truly believe it's one of those all-time sci-fi movies. So I have Dune 2 here, but I did have Parasite on my list. I forgot to mention my honorable mentions. So great pick there. But yes, at my number 6, I had Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve. I mean, this shit was fucking crazy. Can't wait for Messiah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
My number 6. I knew I needed a Nolan film somewhere in here, and I went through my lists over and over I was struggling with who I needed to put here. Is it Dark Knight? Is it Inception? I kept coming back to Oppenheimer, and maybe it is because he finally got his Oscar for it. Maybe it is because I love Cillian and he got his recognition finally for it. Maybe it's the score. Maybe it's all of it together. I mean, this is a movie that just it's talking. The whole movie is just courtroom scenes, talking, them walking to buildings, and I'm gassed up
Fantastic.
every time I watch it. Like, it's just
Yep.
like sneaky good performances out of every little cameo. You got Gary Oldman there, Casey Affleck just hopping in there. But it's just something that it's long, but every time. But I think I've watched it twice, maybe 3 times, and I still you got to get gassed up to watch it, and when you do, when the nuke season comes, you're still excited every time.
Yeah.
Over to you, Micah.
All right, so here I have Robert Eggers' 2019 The Lighthouse.
Ooh.
I just like it for. I mean, it's
Archie, Micah.
it's like a risky thing to do, like a black and white film set in like a different style of the English language.
Didn't we watch that with the 3 of us and Ian so fucked up the first time in you and
Yes.
Yeah.
in you and Ian's apartment in college?
I had
remember
no
that.
idea
I need to
what
watch
was
it
going
again.
on.
So I watch again sober.
I haven't watched it since. I had no idea what
Sorry,
was going
Micah. I
on.
appreciate it. Just
No, that's all right, Brian. But yeah, I just liked it. It was so creative, and like, you know, it's 2 guys in a room, and it's filled with like references to art and like mythology. That's like Robert Eggers' whole thing, and he's obviously made other stuff that's like, you know, better. Like, however you feel about it, I think this is one where he like first, like, for me, like, I didn't really love The Witch, but this one, like, I got what he was trying to do fully, and it like worked for me. Robert Pattinson, great performance by both of them. So yeah, that's why it's number 6 for me. I just love a good black and white movie. I had to put one on here.
No, I appreciate
Yep.
that. I was a Witch fan too, you know. I like The Lighthouse. I think The Lighthouse might be a little bit better, but I am a Witch
I
supporter.
am too.
I think so.
The Witch.
Okay, yeah, my number 5. I promise my next 4 it shifts away from this. Is my little middle part here is a little blockbustery. I didn't want to put on my list, but I think I had to just because of like what it was, and I had to put The Dark Knight. I ended up being 2 Nolans on my list.
Very fair.
There's no more, but there's my second Nolan, and I put The Dark Knight just because like this is a movie that at the time had the world by the throat, and it's been 17 years since that movie came out, and we're still talking about it. And now you have our generation versus Gen Z lower being like, who's better, this or that, and people will like fight tooth and nail. It changed the game. You know what I mean?
Brian, your
that
algorithm
movie is
seems so combative.
What? My
Who was
algorithm?
doing all this fighting?
Look, think about who you're talking to, Micah. I live for this shit. I'm always arguing. So this is like I engage with the wrong content, and they get mad. Like, yeah, I've seen a lot of shit. People talking about the Batman versus the Dark Knight, and you know what? It's my own fault. I engage with the content, and then they put it on my timeline. So yeah, I put the Dark Knight at my 5,
Love it.
and that's my end of my Nolan. No more Nolan.
That was
swear.
the first one off my top. So that's 11 on my list.
Yeah,
There's a world
I get
where I was assigned between The Incredibles and The Dark Knight, and I'm like, I need an animated movie.
Understood.
Okay, my number 5. Brian, you brought it up in your honorable mentions, and we've talked about summer blockbuster. I think this is maybe the summer blockbuster. I put Mad Max Fury Road.
Great choice.
George Miller. I mean, what else can be said? If you just want a movie that's just like action, over the top, so much fun.
Yeah, oh gosh, no breaks.
Literally, and I'm all for it. The last time I watched this movie, I put it in my review, but I was hungover on a Sunday. I wasn't even on like streaming. It was on YouTube TV with commercials, and it popped up, and I was just like on the couch suffering, and I'm like, I turned the volume down a little bit, and I still watched the whole thing all the way through, and it was brilliant. It saved my hangover. So much fun. I wish movies like this. I mean, I know Furiosa just came out, but I wish movies like this were always in theater. If I see this movie in IMAX, I would do anything. But over to you, Micah.
My number. We're on 5, right?
Yes, we're on 5.
My number 5 is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
I think it's like
yeah.
it's a really
Let's
great
go.
combination of all of Wes Anderson's talents, like the style with the story.
Yep.
Like a coming of age, like figuring out who you are. George Clooney is like meant to play this. This is like one of my favorite roles from him. Him and his whole band of actors and the way they all come together for this like combined goal. every time. Like honestly, this is like a stand-in for like maybe all of his movies. He's like a singular genius to me. But yeah, that's why it's at number 5. It's the stand-in for a lot of them. There was a lot that could fit here, but he's fantastic. So that's number 5. Fantastic Mr.
I love
Fox.
it.
Yeah. That's the name of the movie.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of, I'm kind of like, it's kind of funny seeing like the differences, but also the overlaps going on here with the 10. Okay, so my number 4, I have the Coen Brothers, No Country for Old Men. It had to be on here. The Coen Brothers made a lot of great things. I love True Grit, but it didn't think it qualified for the top 10 of all time. This movie is in my damn near perfect category. I mean, what can you talk about? The performances. They have so many scenes in this movie. Like, I think this movie, if nothing else, embodies tension in ways that you haven't seen in other movies. Like, you have a scene with no score that has, with a unraveling peanut wrapper between the Javier Bardem's character and the cashier. That's like one of the most tense things you've ever seen. I don't know. I love this movie. Had to be my top 10. Happened to land at number 4. No Country for Old Men.
No, that's a great pick. Speaking of, and Javier Bardem won an Oscar for that movie.
He did, yeah, for supporting, I believe.
Speaking of Oscars for a villain, at my number 4, I have Inglourious Bastards by Tarantino.
I knew I was forgetting a director. I didn't do any Tarantino.
So here's my thing. I think out of my entire list, this is the singular best performance by an actor of any of them, with Christoph Waltz's performance. It came out in 2009. This is a movie I remember looking at Blockbuster and being like, ooh, Brad Pitt. And when I was 11, and coming out the other side when I watched this maybe when I was 16, I was just like, still not comprehending. I wasn't at that point in my level of like film digestion yet, but I was just like, whoa, who was that guy talking about Christoph Waltz? Like, who the fuck was that? That was sick. To me, this is just a movie where this is, in my opinion, Tarantino's best work.
I agree.
I think it's leagues and away. It's just you could talk about whatever scene you want, from the opening milk scene, they're under the floorboards, to the basement bar scene, to anything even at the end, the strudel scene. Like, every scene hits, and then you get to see Hitler get killed, which is just so rad. Over the top fun. And you get Brad Pitt playing kind of a cowboy. So
yeah. Eric, that's the only one I was thinking about. Like, I knew when I did this list, someone was going to say something that I forgot. I wasn't worried about Tarantino because Django's not in my top 10. But like, Inglourious Basterds is one. I don't know if it would have made it, but it would have certainly been in my honorable mention. Yeah. So that's a good one. I forgot. I feel like that's what happens when you make these lists. You forget about something.
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead, my man.
So we're on 4?
We're on 4.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 4.
This is where I put Oppenheimer at 4.
Good choice.
Because I think this is like right about where I was like, okay, like I think this is like a really, really solid biopic. Maybe one of the best I've ever seen.
I agree.
And I like the way the editing is pitch perfect.
Yeah.
The script is super tight. And just the story behind it, like, that's what I like, and it's impactful and relevant. Made a bunch of money. What more can you ask for? Yeah. Great.
Some could argue it's the most important story ever told, if you think about what Nix will do for us. But hey.
Yeah. I listen. That's another one that was. There's been a lot of movies that hovering. This was like if we were making a top 20 list or top 25, there's been a lot of them.
But now we're in the top 3, Brian.
Top 3. I don't know what your top 3. I have. There's a couple. There's one in here that I wonder if I'm the only one who has it, and there's one in here that's a repeat.
Okay. But
I'm gonna go with the other one. My number 3, I have David Fincher's and Aaron Sorkin's The Social Network at my 3 spot. I think it's just one of those movies that, like, I think. I mean, we can all. It's one of the better movies ever made. Whether it's on your list or not, I think it's probably in your top 25 of the century, certainly. We've talked a lot about it earlier in this episode. I'm not going into detail, but yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. If you've seen it, you know.
Yeah.
That's my number 3.
No, that movie rips. It didn't make my top 10 spoiler alert, but but it's a great
That's okay.
It's
movie.
represented.
That's why it's your top 10.
Exactly.
My man.
Got represented.
A repeat. This I mean, what else is there to say? It's Dune Part 2 for me at the number 3 spot. It is, I think you summed it up in a brilliant way, Brian, the Empire Strikes Back of our century, of our generation. You could call it the Two Towers from Lord of the Rings, whatever you want to call it. I think it's the most brilliant sequel to a fantastic setup movie. It hits on every point it needs to hit on, adapts the source material differently, but in ways maybe necessary. And I think underrated performances, generational casting. It's a movie that should continue to live on. Looking down the line, a great, just epic movie. Over to you, Micah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think his name was brought up earlier, but this is Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth from 2006.
Ooh, good one. That's another foreign film.
Yeah, this one is so I don't even know how to describe it. When I watched it, also probably too young. I think it was in high school. I learned how to
remember watching
torrent movies, and then I started just watching anything and everything, and this one sticks with me. It was so cool looking, all the practical effects, all the makeup and stuff, and the story. This young girl is trying to escape her fascist stepfather. Her mom's not well, and also pregnant, and she's going on this dual adventure where she's having these fairy tale sequences that are pretty harrowing, just to get these practical things to escape. And in the background, her stepfather's murdering people, and it all culminates in this heartbreaking kind of conclusion, kind of a happy ending, kind of not, but it's very much like a fable or a fairy tale kind of thing. That thing Guillermo del Toro is so good at. That's why it's number 3. Solid movie.
Micah, you actually inspired me. That's one I need to rewatch because I watched it way too young. I've seen the movie. Okay. My number 2 is actually the one repeat so far, unless your number 2 happens to be my number 1. I have the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring at 2.
Nice.
I agree. I wanted to include one of them. Fellowship is my favorite by far.
Yeah.
I think that, and I put it at 2 just because of it's one of those things that you don't see often, a movie that 1 spawns a franchise and 2 is so just critically and award a movie that rakes in the awards like this and also is franchise spawning. Who knew that what Peter Jackson was creating when he made this movie? And I stand by the fact that it's the best one out of the 3.
Yeah.
Eric, you're with me on this, fan. There's a lot of people try to say, I like Return of the King too. This one's my favorite.
Yeah.
Got the Mines of Moria.
Yeah.
You got,
but even in the Shire scenes are just the most heartwarming.
Yeah,
and then you get
the
that,
best.
and then it ends in one of the better long take fights in the series. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, no, it's the best. I put it 2, probably higher than it should be, but I don't give a fuck. It's my 2. Moving on.
My silver medal is a repeat, Brian. We're kind of going step in step here. I have the Coen Brothers' No Country for Old Men at 2. This really high up. This is a movie that is just terrifying at the end of the day, and a great. It's a Western, but it's not. It's the manifestation of evil and death, and just you look into Javier Bardem's eyes and you just see nothing, and it's another great villain performance. I think the villain performances speak to me. It's just you're rooting for Josh Brolin, and the choice to kill him off screen is just, to me, one of the smarter choices. And
you blink and you miss it kind of thing.
Yeah, and it spoke to me. It's tension, it's dread, it's something that you can hear a pin drop at any given moment, and it works. It works on every level. Love it. Mike, over to you.
Yeah. So this is where I put Parasite. Again, just a movie that for me works on every level. Every scene is so impactful, which just speaks to the tightness of the direction, the writing, and the action. I think it's meaningful. I think you could watch this whenever. I think it'll hold up because of all the hard work they did.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best picture winners, like maybe ever.
I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had a great time, a blast. Like, it's a movie that, like, I made sure I could find somewhere and, like, buy it. Like, just to have it. Like, to have access to it wherever it ends up. Like, definitely an important, good movie. Bong makes a lot of good movies. Some of them silly, but they all kind of have, like, an environmental, like, capitalist critique kind of lens. Like, it was like, I wanted to put Snowpiercer on here somewhere, but I chose Parasite instead. It is the better movie, but I do have a soft spot for Snowpiercer.
I like Snowpiercer too, right? You gotta make your calls.
Make a call.
You only have 10 movies. You gotta make 10 movies. Oh, we made it, boys. Number one. There's no way that anyone else has this movie. I have looked high. I've looked low. This has been the best movie of the century, and I've yet to see something better. And my movie is 2006's Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men.
Wow,
it is the best movie I've ever seen. It's the best movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if you'll ever see something like anything you guys list, whatever you guys have, I bet is going to be like, damn, that's a great. Every movie that's been listed today has been fantastic. This movie, though, is just something special. I remember I used it in my sociology and film class, like sophomore year, junior year, and my professor goes, "What movie was that? That was haunting." And I'm like, "Jesus, bro, you're supposed to be the fucking professor." Class? Like, no, it was sociology 3 of them. He's a sociology professor, to be fair.
Okay.
But he was trying to use film as a medium. But keep in mind, the kid who went before him used a Kygo documentary, so it wasn't too hard. But a Kygo, the fucking DJ. He used a documentary about a DJ. My point being is that this movie is watch. If you haven't seen this movie in a while, watch it again. It's beautiful. It's heartbreaking. It's maybe technically one of like in terms of like less dialogue and more like just a technical aspect. It makes me forget the fact that he made Gravity.
Whoa, not too much on Gravity. Gravity's amazing. Anyway, Brian, I don't want to set you off, Brian. I don't want to set you off. All right, so just
I was just being a dick. I was just being a dick.
So just listen to this, take it in, say like a few words about it. Thematically, pretty similar to some of the events of 28 Years with the child.
What? Children of Men?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very much. A lot of overlaps. No, you're not gonna set me up.
Okay.
Also, shitting on Gravity just because I was a little over it. I was also young. If I watch it again, I bet I'd like it more. No, it is very similar because you have a child born out of circumstance that it should not have been born. Very, very, very thematically similar. But like the way Alfonso Cuarón shot Children of Men and what he did there is, I just don't know if you can replicate it. Like what he did, everything that's important about the story. There's not a lot of exposition. It's all he uses the background to explain everything. It's great. It's my number one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on from there.
That's a great
All right,
pick.
Eric.
That's a great pick. My number one. It's the movie that changed the way I look at movies, and probably people talk about their sexual awakenings, but I'll talk about my cinematic awakening.
Whoa.
It's Damien Chazelle's La La Land.
Yeah. Why was I not expecting that? I don't know.
It was in my honorable mentions. I knew it had to be this top 10. I knew it had to be this top 10.
It's so this at the time when this movie came out. It's
behind him right now.
This painting also is. If I've ever explained it, it's the primary color from each scene in the movie, starting from the bottom to the end. And so,
Eric, listen, I showed you. La La Land was in my honorable mentions, man. I mean, it was there. It's a great movie.
This is a movie that's significantly different than any other movie on my list, and rightfully so.
Sure.
I'm going into this movie in 2016. I was an MCU and a Nolan guy, and probably Wolf of Wall Street, and this is a movie that I saw the trailer and I just was like, why is this like itching something in my brain? And going to watch it, I remember I went to watch it with my ex-girlfriend at the time, shout out Brittany, didn't pay one lick of attention to her the whole movie. I'm like, don't even have my arm around her. Like I was just when the whole time it's the most over the top way of singing and dancing to explain a timeless message of just, we were talking about earlier with past lives, but life versus love. And it's also done in a way that like kind of celebrates Hollywood, and it's done in Chazelle's style that is just so unique. And obviously Emma Stone got an Oscar for it. Chazelle got an Oscar for it. It's a movie that I will always go back to, and changed the game for me. So, and I saw it got me into the Oscars because that's when Brian and I were fucking screaming at the TV.
I was gonna say, Eric, no one can ever take away our 2016 La La Land campaign. That was we were gung hoing about that. I know Mike.
But who was across the hall with the real winner? New stitches in his face. Shout out, Eric.
Yeah,
And,
I did not hit you.
They would not believe that. Yeah, what a crazy night that was. Yeah, I get rocked in the face. Eric gets accused of domestic violence, and then La La Land wins, but then loses.
But then doesn't win.
What a crazy...
There's a bunch of snap memories on my phone of being like me and Eric being like, "Let's go," and then us being like, "Wait, what?"
Foreshadowing for the Super Bowl, I guess. But
Wouldn't it be crazy if Mike's number one was Moonlight? That'd be crazy.
No, I like Moonlight.
Good movie.
Barry
Yeah,
Jenkins is
surprised I
so
was your
good.
top.
He's got a lot. Bill Street's fantastic. He's got like the Small Axe series on Amazon. Those are fantastic. But this number one movie is one. Even if you haven't seen it, you've seen it because it gets borrowed from so heavily. It even got remade by another director on my list, Spike Lee. This is Park Chan-wook's Old Boy.
Yeah,
2003.
That was almost on my list too. Yeah, that almost on my list too.
Revenge thriller. It's got great action, great drama, and I think one of the craziest twist endings in all of movies.
Oh my god!
I mean, just fantastic. Even knowing the ending, just going on the journey again, being in his mental state. It's. I mean, the lead gives such a varied performance. He has to do so much emotionally and physically. The direction's pitch perfect. The story's insane. It is like one of those like. Every time someone's in a hallway and they're fighting, and they're like, "What if we turn out the lights?"
They like reference it.
Yeah. Oh, endlessly referenced. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's what makes a number one movie of the century.
Micah, I agree with this. First off, like if there was an honorable mentions to my honorable mentions, that one was on there. But also like, you're right about the sense like that movie. Like, you have to. I cannot scrub my brain of what was revealed to me.
No.
In that movie,
no.
I think in terms I think you are right in the sense where like people go like, "What's the craziest twist?" I'm like, "Oh, people can be like,
he was dead all alone."
It was a
kid's a ghost.
No, yeah, but I'm saying like people can be like, "Oh, like what a great reveal! I didn't know this person was this." This was more like, what if it was horrifying?
Yeah.
Like how? Like I don't think there will ever be a horrifying reveal that Old Boy did, because that one my jaw was on the floor.
Anybody that comes out, and because you get those kids that are just like, "Oh, I saw that twist coming from a mile away." Anybody that says that, they're lying also,
liar.
But you can accuse them of being an absolute sicko.
Yeah, right.
You
like,
have
you
a
saw
fucked
that
up
coming?
brain if you think that. Like,
I don't want to say it on the podcast, but imagine me like, "Bro, that's definitely blank." I'd be like, "Ew, why would you think that?" Where's your brain?
You're a sicko.
Especially after the sex scene. Oh my god. It's crazy.
I mean,
Micah, good choice. It was definitely on my. It was. I feel like all of us had probably 30 movies that were like. I had like I just added everything I thought might make it into a list, and then started.
I've been playing with this. Post-it note where I wrote down all my answers like the whole time.
I think I had 35 movies at one point. Yeah, I had 35 movies in this letterbox list, and I ended up sifting it down to 10.
Yeah. I had The Social Network, Avatar, the Dark Knight. What else do I have here? I got Nora pretty close. I'm glad you guys like my joke. Nora's pretty close.
I was like, how do you sift through 4 different Hotel Transylvanias and pick which one's your favorite?
I was waiting.
You haven't mentioned Paddington.
I literally was gonna say where was Paddington. I didn't want to say. I made the Smile 2 joke, but I was like, I thought Brian was gonna have Paddington in there.
Listen, Smile 2 did not even make consideration, but I will let you guys know Paddington 2 did. It was in the 35. It was there. It did not make it in, but it was in there. And I animated movies too. Like I thought about Toy Story 3, but like when you gotta put 10 for the century, For a year? Oh, some weird shit's gonna get in there. Paddington, Peru, not even the best one. The worst of the three might get into that one.
That's crazy. Well, guys.
Also, can you guys just watch Paddington so we can talk about it?
Well, maybe that's your next movie of the week.
All right, but,
All right, let's end this.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
let's end
well,
this shit.
I think, Micah, what we're going to do is we're going to send you screenshots of our list so maybe you can edit them at some point
yeah,
into it.
superimpose
Yeah,
them.
I'll put it
Yeah.
in the...
But for anyone that's still listening to this,
What a
thank
treat.
you. You're a
Two
sicko, but in the
back-to-back
nicest way
bang.
possible. Like,
Comment if you
fuck.
stayed to the end. If you stayed to the end, comment Paddington. Too.
you will get a
All right?
Venmo from me of
Yeah.
$1
Comment.
if you
Comment your favorite.
if you
I will
are
buy you a
Comment your
beer
favorite
because we
Paddington
definitely
character.
know you.